big poppin'. Money in the bank coming, dropping a deposit. Having it my way, so I got these bitches watching. Steady getting to it, couldn't fit it in my pocket. Flexing everything, baby, tell me big poppin'. Money in the bank coming, dropping a deposit. Having it my way, so I got these bitches watching. Steady getting to it, couldn't fit it in my pocket. Flexing everything, baby, tell me what the top is.
What's poppin', everybody? It's your favorite doc tender. Oh my God, that girl Henny, and I'm here to pour plenty of the hot shots on this Keefe D court doc. So if you are new here, please be sure to like, comment, and of course, subscribe. Click the notification bell, select all so that you get notified whenever I do a video. And if you are a returning Mob Down Henny gang member, yeah. Now we're going to get into this spill. But first, I got to get my mods in here. First of all, are y'all digging my little round the way girl vibe that I have been having going on here lately with the high ponytail and the knockers? All right. So, no, this is not Diddy. And yes, I am like tired of talking about Diddy, if I'm going to be honest with y'all. Although later on in this broadcast, we are going to talk about Diddy, okay? Because Diddy is a part of this case. Plus, the government has responded to why they made the redaction in the case. Also, I want to talk about Wack. But the main focus of this video is going to be Keefe D and the fact that he filed for a dismissal. Now, I know a lot of people are probably like, okay, that's nothing new. He already filed for a dismissal before. This is old news. No, it's not. This is actually current Henny and not stale Henny. And that's where people are going to miss the mark if they don't check in and tap in and see what I'm talking about. Because Keefe D did file for a dismissal before in this case, and it was not granted to him. And so because it wasn't granted to him, he decided to take his case to a higher court. Now, Henny, what are you talking about? You know I'm going to give it to you. 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 I'm going to give it to you and let you know exactly what I'm talking about. Because, of course, we have the court docs, okay? And so, hold on, baby. Hold on. I have to get my new watermarks in here because I made some new watermarks that say specifically that girl Henny and that girl Henny reviews. So, and no, I did get what people were saying to me. Shout out to those people in the comments that were like, oh, Henny, can you make the box bigger? Because we can't read what you have on the screen. But baby, there's a reason why my screen is the way that it is. And when you've been around the world and as long as I have, you kind of understand what the hell be going on out here and how people be trying to hijack you for your stuff. So you got to watermark things. You got to make sure that, you know, people can't just come and steal your hard work because they will screenshot off your channel and not give you no credit. Okay. Or they'll come and they'll listen to your live and not give you no credit. So before I even get this all situated up here on the screen, and let me fix this because I think I actually want to do this right here. Nah, because then y'all can't see it. I don't know. I'm just going to do it the way I've been doing it. Bloop. And there we go. So this is the documentation of Keefe D's filing for the Supreme Courts of the state of Nevada. Okay. So again, like I said, this is not anything that is old and stale. I'm actually giving you fresh, hot Henny on the Tupac case. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this to you loud, live, and direct tonight is because I don't think people picked up on this case, and I don't think that they understand the magnitude of what is happening when it comes down to this. So we're going to find out why. Number one, why my computer is dying. Okay, we're going to find out why he filed this with the state of Nevada. And yes, I am going to be doing a little bit of reading. Actually, I don't even know if I want to use this watermark. I kind of want to see this one. No. I'll leave well enough alone. Okay, so this was filed on July 29th, 2025. And yes, that was a couple days ago. And people missed the mark probably because of all of this stuff that was going on with Diddy, but that's okay because I got you. All right, now this is the original motion that he asked for dismissal. And Henny, why are you bringing this up? Because I want to show y'all. I want to show y'all that Keefe D has already filed for this dismissal, and this is not the one that I'm talking about, but all of this was filed in the state of Nevada, okay? So, all right. Now, this is what he filed underneath. He filed underneath the petition for a writ of mandamus. Now, what is a writ of mandamus? A writ of mandamus, according to Cornell law, is an order from a court to interfere in governmental office, ordering the government official to properly fulfill their office duties or correct an abuse of discretion. So basically, he's filing this because he's saying that the state of Nevada violated his immunity deal that he had. Now, baby, I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but Keefe D has had not one, not two, but three, allegedly, three immunity deals. One with Los Angeles Police Department, another one with the feds, and another one with Las Vegas Metro Police Department. So he's claiming to have three of them, okay? And I'm going to read some of this to y'all because, wait a minute. Where is it? Okay. Is this it? All right, I think this is it. The petitioner Dwayne Keith Davis, appearing by and through his counsel Carl E.G. Arnold Esquire, petitions the court to issue a writ of mandamus pursuant to NRS 34.16 ET sequence, all right, to reverse the district court's order denying the motion to dismiss and compel the 8th Judicial District Court, the Honorable Carly Carney District Court Judge, to grant petitioner's motion to dismiss or alternatively, all right, breathe. Hold on, I'm sorry, y'all. Alternatively, compel the district court to decide the issue of whether the state has sufficient evidence to proceed towards trial and or hold that petitioner has protection from the use of all statements that he made at any law enforcement interview that was a continuation of the 1998 interview where he was granted protection from the use of his statements to prosecute him. All right. Issues presented are: did the district court manifestly abuse its discretion in denying the petitioner's motion to dismiss without deciding the issue regarding whether the state had sufficient evidence outside of petitioner's statements to proceed to trial? So his lawyer is telling them they need to answer whether or not they caught evidence on their own, or if they're just using the words of Keefe D as their grounds to go ahead and prosecute him. Okay, because if they're just using his words, then he's saying y'all are violating my immunity deal, right? So the second question they have is, did the district court abuse its discretion by holding that petitioner did not have protection from the use of statements he made during interviews that were a continuation of his 1998 interview, when the district court held that the 1998 statements were protected? So what they're trying to say is, because Keefe D was interviewed in 1998, 2008, and 2009. Okay. Now, during those times when he was questioned, let me get the actual All right, so let me get the actual dates for y'all of who he spoke to and when, because I have it written down. Hold on. Okay. So I can get that for y'all, because those are the accurate dates, but I want to make sure that I tell you the right agencies. So, all right. So in 1998, Keefe D was given a federal proffer with AUSA Michael Terrell. All right. Now, that's when he was granted a federal immunity under a proffer agreement, and he was told that anything that he said couldn't be used against him, right? Right. Then in December of 2008, he was granted task force immunity because LAPD and the FBI task force that were investigating Biggie's murder gave him immunity in exchange for information about the Southside Crips and Tupac shooting, right? And he gave 3 interviews, including one focused solely on Tupac during this interview, and officers confirmed he had immunity during the December interview. Then in September of 2009, he interviewed with Las Vegas Police Department with Detective Long, and they promised him, Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department promised him that he would not be arrested for anything that he said. And Keefe D has constantly repeated his prior story with the immunity still being on the table. So during those 3 interviews, he was promised 3 different times he could basically say whatever, and that he would not be prosecuted for the things that were coming out of his mouth. So his lawyer is trying to establish whether or not the state of Nevada is using his own words from those interviews against him or not. Right? Right. Okay. So, they go on and they go into the statement of facts as far as getting into Tupac's unaliving on September 6th of 1996 in Las Vegas, Nevada, right? And then they go into how on July 16th, 1998, the defendant Dwayne Davis, Mr. Davis, was interviewed by Assistant United States Attorney Michael Terrell, and that his attorney at the time was Edie Fael, and he was present. Okay, that the interview, it was considered a proffer agreement between the United States government and Keefe D, under which any information provided by him wouldn't be used to prosecute him. But what he's trying to say is when they gave him the Queen for a day, that it covered him in these other 2 interviews that he did. But as you can hear, as we go along, they're going to say that that's not the case, right? So then again, on April 20th of 1998, Keefe D was interviewed by federal agents after AUSA Terrell obtained permission from Keefe D's attorney, right? And then Keefe D requested confidentiality and was given the same protection as in 1998. Okay, so now we go from 1998 to 1999. He's interviewing, okay? And they're saying that this interview took place shortly after the death of Orlando Anderson, and that was Keefe D's nephew, and that during the interview, agents directed questioning from Orlando's death to the secure murder. So they were asking him about Orlando Anderson, but then they shifted gears and started asking him about Tupac, okay? Now, they said Mr. Davis's prior statements made in 1998 were consistent with the same answers that he gave in 1998. I don't know what that means. I guess they meant in 1999. I don't know. Okay. Then in December 18th of 2008, Keefe D was interviewed by Los Angeles Police Department Detective Greg Caden. And we all know that name. If you've been following the Tupac case, you know that Greg Caden was the lead detective that was on the case. And he was saying that a lot of things were not right with both Tupac's murder and Biggie's murder, right? It was also William Holcomb, Darian Dupree, and FBI agent Jeff Bennett, okay? The investigators were part of a federal task force focused on the murder of Christopher George Latour Wallace, aka Biggie Smalls, or the Notorious B.I.G. And at the start of the interview, Agent Bennett reviewed reports from 1998 and 1999 with Keefe D, and Agent Bennett made it clear to Keefe D that the purpose of the interview was to correct Keefe D's statements as they related to the alleged murder, which I don't even know why they're saying alleged murder, because, I mean, at the end of the day, Tupac didn't kill himself. Okay, He was shot down. So for them to be saying alleged murder in court documents is crazy work, okay? And to provide investigators with the actual details of the alleged murder. Additionally, it was made clear that any statement made by Keefe D would be covered under the previous proffer. So those agents, when they went in there to go talk to him in 2008, they said, okay, well, you already had this proffer agreement back in 1998 and it carried over into 1999. So we're going to carry it over into 2008. And so with that being said, Keefe D provided them with 3 interviews in exchange for his immunity, with the final one focused solely on Tupac's shooting, okay? He detailed his involvement in the murder and identified the alleged shooter, okay? Then on September 9th of 2009, Keefe D was interviewed by Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department Detective Daniel Long, okay? And Los Angeles Police Department Detective Darian Dupree. So now Dupree was there with the federal agent, okay, and with Greg Caden and the other officer that was there in Los Angeles. Now he's here in Las Vegas as well with Detective Long, right? Right. So Keefe D's counsel at the time was Dwayne Higgins. All right. The interview and statements were part of the same 1998 and 2008 proffer. Keefe D essentially confirmed all of his prior statements. On September 29th of 2023, Keefe D was indicted on charges of first-degree murder for the murder. I'm not going to say alleged because ain't no alleged about Tupac being gone. We know he's gone. And that's so insulting for them to say alleged murder. How else did he die? Sure. Anyway. The indictment followed the 2019 publication of Mr. Davis's memoir, Compton Street Legend, in which he publicly discussed his alleged role in the shooting. Okay? Then it goes on to say attorney Carl Arnold appeared for Mr. Davis on January 18th of 2024. On January 6th, 2025, Mr. Arnold filed a motion to dismiss on behalf of Keefe D, right? The motion raised 3 issues. One, they said that the state had no evidence independent of Keefe D's confession to establish the corpus delicti that he committed the murder of Mr. Shakur and or which is sufficient to proceed to trial. And 2, the state's delay in prosecuting Keefe D was a violation of his due process right and caused him prejudice. Number 3, the state's prosecution of Keefe D violates the protection provided to him against the prosecution for Tupac's murder. All right. The state filed an opposition on January 15th, 2025, arguing that 1, corpus delicti could not be raised via motion to dismiss and should have been raised in pretrial writ. And even if the court did consider the motion corpus delicti was properly established, okay? 2, the motion must be denied because it fails to argue that the delay in bringing prosecution was intentional and or in bad faith. And 3, Keefe D was never granted any immunity for prosecution of Tupac's murder. Now, this is what the state came back and say, like, baby, we didn't give you no immunity. Immunity, what's that? Now, on January 21st of 2025, the court held a hearing in support of his first issue. Attorney Arnold argued that in the case, the charges also included allegations that the murder of Tupac was for the promotion of or with the assistance of a gang. He argued that the corpus, look. We gonna spell this right, okay? I don't want to say it wrong. I don't want to keep saying it wrong. Okay, so let me go over here. And then I need to tell y'all what it means. Corpus delicti, the facts and circumstances constituting a breach of law. So corpus delicti, okay? That's how we saying it, all right? That's how you say it. That's how you say it. So he argued that corpus delicti in this case would require the state to establish that Tupac was murdered and that his murder was assisted and or was promoted by a gang. Boom. Attorney Arnold argued that the only evidence that established that Tupac was murdered for or assisted by a gang were the statements made by Mr. Davis. He then argued, I don't want the court to get hooked up on this corpus delicti. The corpus delicti rule is basically, again, that's in the preliminary hearing stages of the case. The black letter law is this. The law states you cannot have a conviction based upon just his admission and statements. That's the law. If the state at this point puts on a trial to the jury and that's all they have is his admissions, the whole trial is illegal. That's illegal trial. It's going up for appeal. It should not happen. They need to have something else, a gun, a witness, something else that puts this gentleman, those three co-conspirators, in the car. They need to have a witness to say that the gun was given from Mr. Martin to Mr. Davis. Okay. They don't have anything. They don't have anything to even prove that my client was in the state of Nevada at the time of the incident. I mean, basically they have Orlando Anderson, but we don't know if the Crips were here. That's all hearsay. That came from the grand jury, and there's no evidence whatsoever. And so without that, we can't put on a trial. Your Honor, we just simply can't. So they're building their case saying they have no case because there's nothing here outside of Keefe D's word on that. All right. Also, the second issue, Attorney Arnold argued that Mr. Davis was prejudiced by the delay and that the refusal to prosecute timely was a tactical delay because the prosecution had known who all the suspects and witnesses were back in 1996, but did not bother to investigate or question any of those individuals who are now dead, and their testimony is no longer available to Keefe D. Attorney Arnold continued to argue that in 2009, when Mr. Davis, which is Keefe D, provided his statement, at least two witnesses / suspects had died, leaving at least two witnesses, suspects, available for investigation or questioning, but still the prosecution did not act. He also argued that now it was the state's burden to show why it did not prosecute back then. I have to say, I want to know why they didn't prosecute back then too. I was too busy passing out immunity. You get immunity and you get immunity and you get immunity than to be doing your job. Like you should have got on your job. Anyway, in support of Mr. Davis's third issue, Attorney Arnold argued during the times the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department interviewed Keefe D, officers told Keefe D numerous times that they were not there to arrest him and that they were not going to arrest him. He further argued that Keefe D had an immunity agreement with the Federal Bureau of Investigations in 2008 and the Los Angeles Police Department, and an immunity agreement with the LAPD and the LVMPD, which is in Las Vegas, in 2009. And the statements that the state now relies upon are those same statements that were made in 2008 and 2009 and are subject to those immunity agreements, okay? We're not going to get into what he had argued because we already know what he has argued, okay? The state countered the first issue by arguing that the state didn't need to consider Mr. Davis's statements to establish corpus delicti for murder. Rather, the state argued all the state needs to do was establish that Tupac was murdered, which we all know he was. And they were able to do that without Mr. Davis's statement. Okay, in support of the state's opposition to Keefe D's second issue, the state argued that Keefe D failed to argue that the state's delay was intentional in order to gain a tactical advantage over the accused or was done in bad faith. The state argued that the reason the LVMPD Detective Dan Long told Mr. Davis he wasn't there to arrest him was because the interview took place in California and Detective Long could not arrest him in California. So they're saying he wasn't even in Las Vegas when we questioned him. He was in California, so I couldn't arrest him. So yeah, I told him I wasn't there to arrest him because I couldn't. The state further argued that the delay in bringing charges against Keefe D was caused by Keefe D. It also argued that the state had no intention of bringing charges against Keefe D until he made a public confession multiple times, which then triggered the investigation that led to his arrest. So basically, what the state of Nevada is saying is, you ran your mouth. You talk too much. Henny Glasses in the chat. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't put y'all comments up on the screen. Henny Glasses in the chat. If y'all remember, Keefe D was everywhere. No, I didn't hear that, Shannon, and we're not talking about Diddy right now, baby. We're talking about Keefe D and Tupac. But I didn't hear that. I heard nobody had reached out to Trump. But what I did hear is that Trump said he ain't pardoning him. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. Because Keefe D was on Vlad. He was on Art of Dialogue. He was in documentaries. He was everywhere telling his story. And he was very cocky about his story. I don't like his demeanor. And I don't like the way he has an arrogance to him about this when he talks about it, because he just knew, I can't get arrested. Sure. Ooh. Anyway. Now, in support of the state's opposition, Keefe D's third issue, the state argued that Keefe D could not have had immunity for his statements from Nevada prosecution because only a Nevada court could grant such immunity, and no Nevada court had done so. So he ain't got no immunity in Nevada, and that's why Nevada was able to arrest him. But it still don't explain why, if they knew all of this back in 2008 and they had no immunity deal, why they didn't spin the block and arrest him before 2023. That part I don't understand, and I'm getting a bit pissed off, and I'm going to explain to y'all why. The court then ruled on record holding that in light of the Nevada Supreme Court holding that it would hear Mr. Davis's motion on merit, okay? In denying Keefe D's first issue, the court held, however, here that is not the, or in this case, that isn't the case. There is corpus delicti because Tupac was shot and eventually passed away from his injury. An autopsy was completed. His death was determined to be a homicide by gunshot wound. And ultimately, it is a situation where the crime has been established that a murder occurred because of the body of Tupac. So I will deny it on those grounds. So his first motion for a dismissal got denied. Okay, the district court did not resolve or even mention Keefe D's argument that the state had insufficient evidence to proceed to trial, and as such, any trial would violate Keefe D's rights. In denying Keefe D's second issue, the court held that the delay in bringing Keefe D's prosecution was justified because it wasn't under Keefe D's published. It wasn't until Keefe D published his book, in which he made public statements confessing his involvement in the murder, that the Las Vegas Police Department decided to investigate Keefe D as a suspect, resulting in a search of his home and eventual indictment. Furthermore, because Keefe D's 2009 statements were vague, there wasn't enough evidence to implicate Keefe D at that time. The court held defendant has not provided any evidence to establish the delay was intentionally done to gain a tactical advantage or the prosecution delayed in bad faith. In denying Keefe D's third issue, the court held that the 1998 statement that Keefe D provided the FBI could not be used against him. The court also held that the federal government never provided Keefe D with transactional immunity. So they're saying that the government never told him that this was a quid pro quo type of thing, where you give us information, we're going to give you immunity completely free from prosecution. This is what the courts are saying. Okay? The court upheld the Las Vegas Police Department Detective Long never provided Keefe D with immunity either. The court reasoned that why Keefe D's attorney instructed Keefe D to keep his statement, that's why he instructed him to keep his statements vague. So basically, because he was given vague statements, they're saying that his attorney had directed him to do so because they knew that there wasn't no real immunity on the table. Finally, the court held, as the years passed, Mr. Davis revealed additional information on his own violation and presumably for his own precautionary interest that connected him to this and alleged this death. Not even an alleged death. It is a death. They need to stop saying alleged. I need to find out who wrote this because I'm going to write them a letter. Stop saying alleged. Are you trying to tell us that that man alive? Anyway, or the death of Mr. Shakur allegedly at Mr. Davis's hands. And I do find the state is entitled to use that information freely given by defendant who, with no prompting by government authority, and released to the public in its in its prosecution. Okay, so they're saying that this court, because they're petitioning the Supreme Court of Nevada. Okay, so they're saying that this court should issue a writ of mandamus to control the district court's manifest abuse and or corpus exercise of discretion. Okay, standard for granting mandamus. The decision to entertain a petition for a writ of mandamus lies within the sound discretion of the reviewing court and is generally disfavored where the petitioner possesses a plain, speedy, and adequate remedy in the ordinary course of law. Okay, a writ of mandamus may issue to compel the performance of an act that the law requires as duty resulting from an officer or to control a manifest abuse or corpus exercise of discretion. Okay. While the existence of an appellate remedy typically precludes mandamus, the Nevada Supreme Court has recognized multiple exceptions where such release is nonetheless appropriate. First, when the legal issue presented as sufficient implications to reach beyond the interest of the immediate parties, the court may intervene to clarify the law. Okay. Second, mandamus may be appropriate when the matter involves a purely legal question that does not require extensive fact finding. Third, where postponing review would result in impairing harm or delay justice, such as in cases involving urgent procedural matters, the court has granted writ relief. Okay. Fourth, the court may exercise writ jurisdiction where early intervention would prevent unnecessary litigation or streamline judicial proceedings. The fifth exception is particularly sufficient where procedural posture or the history of the case demonstrates the ordinary appellate review would be unreasonably delayed or ineffective. Okay. So, I don't know if y'all want me to keep on reading or not with all of that, but it says, although Mr. Davis was not charged until 2003, the prosecution arises from a homicide that occurred in 1996, nearly 3 decades ago. The extraordinary delay in bringing charges combined with the state's reliance on statements allegedly made under use protection more than a decade after the incident places this case in procedural and constitutional posture that cannot be remedied through a post-judgmental appeal. Okay, so he's going on and on about how his prosecution, how his due process was violated and all of that. Baby, let me try to get to where the prosecution has already, all of this is just going over the same stuff we've already heard. All right, in conclusion, Mr. Davis's case presents 2 interlocking grounds for mandamus relief. All right. So honestly, what the courts have said, I mean, what the prosecution has said when it comes down to Mr. Davis's case, and I'm going to tell y'all, I said I would tell y'all why this is important. Okay. So what the government has done is the government has said, look, he's been out here running his mouth in these interviews, okay, which we all saw Keefe D was running his mouth in interviews. All right. They're saying that the claims for immunity with Nevada, with LAPD, with the feds, it's non-existent. Okay. There are no one gave him immunity while he's saying that he did. However, the immunity was violated. Okay. Now, he claimed that the state of Nevada knew about the immunity, but prosecuted him anyway. And he wasn't indicted until 2023, right? Right. But the problem with all of that is Keefe D should have never opened his mouth and said anything, okay? When he went on his press run and started going to all the different blogs and doing all of these different interviews. He went on Vlad and he did interviews on Vlad between 2018 to 2022. Okay. And in those interviews, Keefe D gave details about being in a Cadillac. He claimed he passed the gun to the back seat. He said that Orlando Anderson, he took it after he was supposed to pass it to somebody else. And then Orlando took it and he shot it out the car. And then he went in the murder rap documentary from 2015 to 2016. And that was basically, that documentary was based on Greg Caden's book, right? But Keefe D appeared on camera confirming details of the shooting, all right? Then he put his book out in 2019 and he wrote accounts of the entire Tupac shooting night. He admitted to being in the car, detailed the route, the motive, and the payout plan. And you already know the payout plan. Allegedly, he's saying that Diddy offered him $1 million to pop the top of Tupac and Suge Knight. Okay. Then in 2023, the last interview that he had done, he went on an Art of Dialogue and he repeated his roles again just months before the arrest came out. Okay. Not only that, the prosecution is saying that when Keefe D was talking about this stuff, he had no remorse in what he was saying. He was braggadocious about the way that he was saying it. He found things funny. He was very snarky when he was doing it. Okay, I'm adding a little bit more to it, but y'all know what I'm saying. So they're saying that, okay, you had this, even if you had immunity, you violated the immunity by going public and talking about it. Like, how can you say I'm protected from prosecution, yet then you go out and you talk about the very thing publicly and proudly? You talk about the very thing that you're supposed to be immune from. So it's like you're taunting the police in their face about what you did on some nana boo boo stuff. So they came and they nana boo booed you. But the problem with all of this is now that he has sent his request for a dismissal to the Nevada Supreme Court, if that Supreme Court grants him the dismissal, Tupac's murder case is gone forever, you guys. Everybody else is dead. Like, there's nobody else that's still alive that was involved in that case. I mean, yeah, they got Reggie Wright. Oh. How many Tupac heads are in here? Throw your twos in the chat if you're a Tupac head. I need to know. I need to know because it's important. It's very, very important that I know how many Tupac heads I have up in here. Because I've got some more stuff. Oh, your twos in the air. I see them twos going up. Look, even if you in the bushes and you don't like me, you just over here listening. If you a Tupac head, just throw your two in the air. Ain't nobody gonna bite you. All right. Oh, I see all them twos going up. Okay, so y'all gonna want to hear this. All right, so listen. I'm gonna put something up on the screen and y'all tell me if y'all have ever seen this document before. And be honest with me. Let me know. Let me make it bigger. Let me put myself down in the corner. Have y'all ever seen this particular document before? Okay, Shannon says no. Nikki says no. Okay, so this gives the account of everything. This is what Keefe D gave to them. This is when he was interviewed by the agents at the United States Attorney's Office in Los Angeles, California. Also present at the interview was Davis's attorney, Edie Fael, and Assistant U.S. State's Attorney, Michael Terrell. Have y'all ever heard the interview before? Oh, y'all are saying no. I be swiping myself out sometimes. Look, I know. I be swiping myself out sometimes. All right, so let me do this. And don't go getting mad at me. Maybe that. Okay, no, because then y'all can't see it. Y'all can see it, right? All right, y'all can see it. Let me make sure. Yeah, but somebody will come along and steal my shit. I gotta make sure that people can't steal my shit, y'all. I don't like that head. Let me see how that looks. Okay, y'all can still see the words. All right, I'm gonna have to use that one. So get comfortable. Get comfortable. Because we've got this, right? And then we got Exhibit 2. The Federal Bureau of Investigations when he met with them back in 1999. Okay, have y'all ever heard of this? Have y'all ever heard the transcript from when he met with the FBI back in 1999? I know you got scared when I disappeared. I swipe myself off the screen sometimes. I'm sorry, y'all. Okay, so nope, no. Gemini said eyes. I want what? Hey, Enigma. Okay. Y'all have seen the reports of investigation, right? From the Department of Justice. From when Greg Caden, when Detective William Holcomb, Detective Darian Dupree, Greg Caden, and Special Agent Jeff Bennett all sat down. Oh, y'all ain't seen none of this. Henny Legal would be very happy to hear that because Henny Legal was like, you go into this, you better read all of it because ain't nobody heard none of this. Now, y'all heard all of these turns of events right here. All right, there's another document I want to ask y'all because this is a 238-page document, okay? Let's see. Okay, I won't give you everything tonight. But how about we start at the beginning? I got my water, and we get into Exhibit 1. Y'all ready? Reggie needs to be on that stand. Oh, Reggie's in this paperwork. Cherry, you the only one, baby. She said start getting sexy. I got my water. Let me put my glasses on. And let me keep myself in the corner. Let me get myself comfortable. Yeah, go get your weed. Go get your glasses and whatever else it is, because we gonna get into it. All right. So this is a confidential document dated July 16th, 1998. And this is Dwayne Keefe David. Protect identity. It was supposed to protect his identity in there, but it didn't. Date of birth, June 14th, 1964. Let me shrink this window because I just need to see the chat. Okay. Was interviewed by agents at the United States Attorney's Office, Los Angeles, California. Also present at the interview was Davis's attorney, Edie Fael, and Assistant U.S. State's Attorney, Michael Terrell, pursuant to an understanding between Davis and the government. The interview was to be treated as a proffer session. Also, it was understood that the information provided by Davis during the interview would not be used by the FBI in any way would disclose to individuals outside of the FBI that information came from Davis. So we hear it right there in the beginning of this. All right. During the interview, Davis provided the following information. Davis knows an individual called Zip. He doesn't know his first or last name. Zip, who is from New York, is a pimp who controls approximately 40 girls. Zip also sells marijuana. Davis has no knowledge of Zip selling cocaine. Okay. Davis did once discuss a transaction with Zip involving PCP. Davis then arranged for Patrick Bernard to give Zip the PCP. Zip came to Los Angeles with other persons from New York, on that and other occasions, but Davis does not know these individuals' names. Davis met Zip in 1993. That police did a whole show on all of this. Oh, okay. Okay, 1993 and 1994 at a baseball game. An individual called Fats was also at the game and introduced Davis to Zip. Fats, who is also called Flint, is known as a big cocaine supplier who operates in the west side of Los Angeles. Davis associated with Fats prior to 1994. In 1994, Fats was arrested and went to federal custody. Davis has not associated with Fats much since he was released from federal custody earlier this year. Davis has heard from Fats as little money now. Has heard that Fats has little money now and does not believe he is currently a major drug supplier. Fats' cocaine supplier prior to going to federal prison was his uncle, who is called TR. Davis has heard that Fats is currently trying to get involved with Aftermath Records. Davis knows no gang affiliation by Fats, although Fats wants to be considered member of the Santa Block Streets gang. Okay. When Davis asked if he heard of Fats being involved in any murders since he was released from federal custody, he responded that when Fats was in a halfway house, an individual named Lamar was killed near Fats' house. Fats and Dwayne Day did not get along. Fats once said Day sent black roses. Davis is related to Dwayne Day. Davis's uncle, William Floyd, is also the uncle of Wayne Day. He's snitching on murders. He done told that Fats killed Day. No, he killed Lamar. And Day sent him some black roses. God damn it. Concerning the prior drug organization of Wayne Day, Davis was told that agents had heard that police said that Day had Compton sewn up, meaning that he had control of the cocaine trafficking in Compton. Davis responded that Day had part of Compton sewn up, but had not had Davis's side sewn up. Yeah, because he said he ran that. He ran that side. Prior to his arrest by the FBI, Davis controlled the drug business in the south side of Compton, described more specifically as the part of Compton where the street names have South in the front of them. Reggie Wright Jr., a former Compton Police Department officer, controlled the drug trade in the north side of Compton. In approximately 1983 or 1984, Davis sold cocaine, which he brought from Patrick Johnson. At the time, Johnson controlled the drug trade in all of Compton and also distributed in the Los Angeles area. Johnson was subsequently arrested federally and went into federal custody. Then in approximately 1991, Davis became a drug supplier controlling the south side of Compton. When Wayne Day was arrested by the FBI, Davis and his cousin Rodney Blackman, aka Speedy, took over the area and had been controlled by Day. Davis and Blackman became the major suppliers in the Jordan Downs housing projects in Watts. A drug dealing pimp. Why I look over and that's what I see. Okay, Cherry, you can't be in here telling everything because you already know. Don't nobody else know. You gonna kill all the energy in there, girl. You can't be rushing to the punchline. Cherry said, I know what happened. I know what's about to happen. Y'all don't know, but I know. Okay, now where are we? In the early 1990s, when Death Row Records was started, Marion Suge Knight called Suge gained control of the North Compton drug trade. Knight was associated with all the blood street gangs in Compton, okay? And members of these blood gangs participated with and assisted Knight in the distribution of cocaine. Knight would offer blood members getting out of jail thousands of dollars to act as enforcers. When Knight went to prison, Reggie Wright Jr. became the leader of this drug enterprise. Now we know all of this, but now we know where everybody got it from. If I missed something, Cherry, let me know, okay? In the end of 1990 or the beginning of 1991, Davis visited Johnson at the Metropolitan Detention Center. Johnson told Davis that he was starting a record company, Death Row. Johnson then directed Davis to give approximately $80,000 in money that Davis owed Johnson from previous drug transactions to Johnson's girlfriend. All right. Toshia. I think that's how you say it. Toshia Lanu. So the money could be used to start Death Row Records. So now put a pause in it, because that means that Suge was not originally the person who invested into Death Row from what we hear it. Baby, this shit is getting deep, okay? Tashia and Kango, a black female believed to be the girlfriend of Michael Harris, called Harry O. Here go Harry O, y'all. Oh my God. Then came to Davis's apartment in Iveen. Is it Iveen? Irving? Swagger? No, you ain't from LA. Who from LA? Tell me if I'm saying it right. Iveen, and picked up the money. Davis gave them the money in cash. Davis is also aware that Harris contributed money to start Death Row. So Harry O and the dude Johnson gave the money to start Death Row. Right. Some of this we already knew, but we didn't know where people got the information from, baby. This is where they was getting the information from. Because Keefe D was snitching. We already knew he was snitching, but Goddess, you ain't from no damn LA. You from New York, girl. When asked if a dispute ever wait a minute. Okay, boom. All right. Davis is also aware that Harris contributed money. He knew this from conversations with Johnson and Tashia and Kango. Although at the time Harris was referred to as Ken, Davis had met Harris and later realized that Ken was Harris when he saw a television news show which profiled the largest drug dealers in Los Angeles, one of them being Harris, who we now know to be Harry O. Thank you for the Cash App, you guys. When asked if there was a dispute ever later arose between Johnson and Knight, for example, over Knight not making payments to Johnson. You hear this? They started Death Row, and Suge Knight was supposed to be making payments to them. God damn. Davis responded that he knew of no disputes. The two remained friendly, and Davis heard that Johnson called Knight every day. So Harry O and Suge Knight like this at this point in time. Okay. Davis was friendly with Knight, and others Davis was friendly with Knight until Knight and others beat his nephew, Orlando Anderson, in Las Vegas on the day that Tupac was killed. In approximately 1995, Davis was invited to a party thrown by Knight. The party was at a house in Winetta near the Hidden Hills area of Los Angeles County. Knight had, and now Reggie Jr. has, association with police officers who assist in the drug enterprise and even commit murders for Knight. At the 1995 party, approximately 6 Compton Police Department officers and some Los Angeles Police Department officers were at the party providing security. Compton Police Department and Los Angeles Police Departments were providing security. Some of them wore jackets saying Right Way Security, a company owned by Reggie Wright Jr. Although Davis does not know the names of most of the officers, 2 of the Compton Police Department officers were Sergeant Reynolds and Lieutenant Reggie Wright Sr., the father of Reggie Wright Jr. Lord Jesus, the Father and the Son, the Holy Spirit, they out there. Crooked police. I already knew that. I just want to be dramatic. Yes. From the Father to the Son and the crookedness in their copping. Davis knows that Knight has bought cars for several of the officers. For example, Knight bought a Legend for Reynolds and a Lexus for Reggie Wright Jr. Davis also knows that the mayor of Compton, Omar Bradley, associated with Knight and the Blood Gang members. Davis knows that the mayor has attended parties with them. Oh my God. Now, I ain't never heard that part. Davis also advised that the word on the street is that Compton Police Department officers committed murders for Knight. Specifically, Davis has heard that Compton Police Department officers killed Bruce Richardson approximately 2 years ago. Richardson was a drug dealer who owned a car wash on 52nd Street in Crenshaw. Richardson had gotten into a fight with Knight and beat Knight up shortly before he was murdered. Concerning the current drug organization run by Reggie Wright Jr., one of the distribution locations is the Untouchable Auto Shop located on Alondra and Washington in Compton. The shop is owned by Melvin Hurd. Hurd, G-Ray, and Jimmy distributed cocaine from the shop. Individuals who work for Reggie Wright Jr. assisting in the distribution of cocaine include 1, Mob James, a member of Mob Piru Street Gang, who is approximately 30 years old. This is at the time. 2, Flip, who distributes from a shop located in Compton Boulevard and Harris. 3, Bump Tree, a member of Mob Piru Street Gang. And 4, Trayvon Lane, a member of Mob Piru Street Gang. And 5, Kevin Woods. Reggie Wright Jr.'s organization also includes the members of the Mob Piru, Treetops, and Fruittown street gangs. Wright's organization supplies the Bounty Hunters and the Spooktown gangs. A couple of weeks before the murder of Tupac Shakur, Marcus, who lived in the Southside Crip neighborhood, was in the mall by himself. A number of Blood Street Gang members attacked Marcus and began beating him. Orlando Anderson and others then approached the situation, observed what was happening, and then went to the aid of Marcus. They beat up the Blood Gang members. At the Las Vegas casino on the day of Tupac's murder, the Blood Street Gang members and Knight saw Anderson and attacked him because of the previous incident at the mall. After the attack, Davis, Anderson, and Davis's girlfriend Paula Johnson and Anderson's girlfriend Rashina went up to their hotel room at the Excalibur Casino. The room was in Anderson's name. The 4 had driven to Las Vegas in a Land Cruiser. Corey Edwards, Kevin Davis, Terry Brown, a.k.a. Bubble Up, Big Dre, and Wynn had also traveled to Las Vegas. They stayed at the MGM Casino. Davis repeatedly denied knowing who killed Tupac Shakur. When asked to speculate, he said that he believed that Shakur was killed by the Compton Police Department officers working for Knight. He asked what the motive would be for this. Davis responded that he had heard that Shakur was talking about leaving death row. So this is where that rumor came out about him leaving death row, okay? Marcus was shot and killed in April of 1997. When initially asked who killed Marcus, Davis responded that Ace, a member of the Southside Compton Crips, had been convicted of the murder. Ace and Marcus had not gotten along for a long period of time. Then someone in a van shot up Ace's grandmother's house. People said it was Davis and his people who had shot up the house. Ace came to believe that the van used was Marcus's dark blue van and that Marcus had committed the shooting. Accordingly, Ace shot and killed Marcus. At the time he was killed, Marcus was with Tommy, a baseball player who was later interviewed by detectives. In approximately 1993 or 1994, Zip introduced Davis to Notorious Big at Summer Jam. Davis associated with Notorious B.I.G. when he was in the Los Angeles area. There was never any drug connection between Davis and Biggie. I'm just going to say Biggie. Davis was at the music event when Biggie was shot and killed. Prior to the murder, Davis observed females associated with Death Row Records at the party. They were Lachelle, a comedian for Death Row, and Jewel, a singer for Death Row. Davis believes they saw Biggie at the event and then called Blood Gang members to come. Davis observed Reggie Wright Jr., DJ Quick, a performer for Death Row, Theo, a disc jockey, and about 10 or 11 Treetop and Fruittown Blood Gang members arrived at the event. Davis told Biggie they were there and to watch out. Shortly thereafter, Biggie was shot. Davis did not see the shooting. Davis believes that Reggie Wright Jr. and the gang members associated with him killed Biggie. When asked who the individuals was who killed Biggie and who the composite drawing of the suspect looked like, Davis responded that the composite looked just like Reggie Wright Jr. Concerning the two quadruple homicides in Compton in 1998, Davis heard that the first was committed by unknown Mexicans. He heard that the second was committed by members of Mac Mafia of Long Beach gang. The gang members had been committing robberies of people. They were arrested by police and are in custody. Concerning the feud between Owl and Corey Edwards, Davis explained that this went back many years to when the 107 Hoovers did a drive-by and shot and wounded Owl and Terry Brown and shot and killed Lee and Lee's brother. One of the Hoovers was killed and Edwards went to his funeral. Owl, who is the cousin of Achille, was mad that Edwards will go to a funeral for someone who shot him and killed his friend. And there has been a feud between the two ever since. Concerning the death of Orlando Anderson, on May 29th, 1998, the day after Davis's federal arrest, Anderson and Owl were together when they encountered three members of the Corner Pocket Crips, two whose last names were Stone, and Danny LNU, who is called Danny Stone. Prior to the encounter, Danny had been mouthing off negatively about Anderson. When the five met, Danny pulled out a .25 caliber and started shooting. Anderson pulled out a gun and shot and killed the other two Stones, and Anderson and Owl then drove off. Anderson realized he had been hit by gunfire and later died. Danny is still not in police custody. He's just snitching. Do y'all hear this? He is just snitching. Hey, Nino. He is snitching. Nemo was kidnapped. Dory was lost. What? Wait a minute. I'm having a spectrum flare just sitting there smiling uncomfortably like I don't understand the language. Wait. Reggie was actually there at the Biggie shooting. I'm shocked. No wonder Gene doesn't like him. Right. Okay. So uniquely, I know that was a whole lot of gang talk right there for you. So basically, he's giving up a lot of information that is going on between Blood and Crip sets. All right. And a lot of these sets we've never heard of, but that's the basis of all of it. And he's telling the feds, because this is an FBI interview. He's telling the feds that all of this is going on. Right. He's telling everything, but not admitting to his part in the Tupac death. Yeah, it's a lot of names that you don't know. So just listen for the names that you do know and associations. So what we learned thus far is that Harry O and this guy with the last name Johnson were the people who put up the front money for death row. And everything was cool between Suge and Harry O until Suge and them beat up Orlando Brown out there in Vegas, okay? Now, everybody else that he's talking about are people that were with him or connected to people that was with him that were in Vegas that killed Tupac, okay? And he basically is snitching on Reggie Ray. When I say, God, I got to try to fix these because the other ones, I don't like them. Okay, don't laugh at me. Okay, I told y'all. The arm on this one is broken. I'm about to crazy glue it because these are my favorite glasses. I can see good. The eyeglass doctors is hustling me with these because these are stronger and I can see, but I don't like them. Okay, I understand it as of recently. I was so confused until I connected that Reggie is actually gang related. I have once connecting the. Oh, you wasn't connected? Yeah, I was. Yeah. Now, why they beat up Orlando? He ain't threatened nobody. They beat up Orlando because Orlando beat somebody else up in the mall. So they beat Orlando up in Las Vegas because it was retaliation for beating up the Blood that he beat up in the mall. Okay, that's why the Anderson got the beat down. All right. Davis was asked to discuss all individuals out of state who he supplied cocaine to, and all local individuals that he supplied that distributed cocaine out of state. He initially advised that he had not distributed cocaine out of state or to anyone who he knew distributed out of state within the last 3 years. Cha. In about 1991, Davis made a connection with Primo, also called the Short Man, who was a Colombian cocaine supplier operating in the Los Angeles area. Davis brought kilograms of cocaine from Primo for $11,500 and $12,500 a kilo. Primo fronted Davis 200 kilograms of cocaine at a time, which Davis would then sell in 2 or 3 weeks. Prior to being supplied by Primo, Davis was supplied by a supplier named Frank. Primo and Davis's supplier until 1995, when Primo went back to Colombia. So now what he's talking about is how he got his cocaine. Okay. Primo was Davis's cocaine supplier until he went back to Colombia. All right. Davis knows that Primo had a ranch in another country in Central America, believed to be Guatemala. So now he's telling on the Guatemalan connect, or the guy Primo, and saying he went back to Colombia, but he got a ranch over there in Guatemala. He just snitching. I think Deuce and them read this before. Until approximately 1993, Davis supplied large quantities of cocaine to Little Rock, Arkansas. An individual called Flint. He did, because he's snitching from state to state. He's snitching from state to state and all around the world. No, nosy neighbor, you're not on the replay. You are actually live and direct with us. He's international snitching, you guys. That's why I said I think I read this before. Okay, so now we in Little Rock, Arkansas, okay? Flint worked for Davis and arranged for transportation of cocaine from Los Angeles area to Little Rock. Rodney Blackman and Kevin Davis were at Fink's drug location in Little Rock when the police raided it several years ago. On one occasion, Primo fronted Davis 60 kilograms of cocaine. Davis then gave the cocaine to Fink, who arranged for it to be transported to Little Rock. The Compton police intercepted the shipment. Davis owed Primo for the lost cocaine, but Primo told Davis to only pay him for the half of the 60 kilograms. Davis accordingly paid Primo approximately $700,000. Davis supplied Fink with in approximately 1993. He believes that Fink still distributes cocaine to Little Rock. Fink has a house in Rolado. You see this? He just telling on everybody everything. This is why he didn't want this information to come out. But you see this right here? Let me tell you this. You see it says provided to Carl Arnold. This was provided to Keefe D's lawyer, and the lawyer attached it to this case. So here it is. All right, so now let's get through it, all right? Until about 3 years ago, Davis supplied Corey Edwards, who was supplying all over Ohio. Now we in Ohio, y'all. We done went from California to Colombia to Guatemala to Arkansas, and now we in Ohio. At one point in approximately 1993, Edwards got into some trouble, and Edwards, Cleveland Drug Connect, Joe Bubbs, started coming to Los Angeles area to acquire cocaine directly from Davis. Bubbs, who is a resident of Cleveland, Ohio, is currently doing 70 months in federal prison. God damn. So not only did he tell on the person that he was connected to, he told on the person that he was connected to that needed to connect to him. When Bubbs came to Los Angeles to obtain the cocaine, he was with George LNU. His drug courier, last name unknown. I ain't gonna keep saying LNU. Damn, I feel dumb. His drug courier, who was about 50 years old. George would drive the cocaine back to Cleveland in a van. And he'd given up the whole operation about how he was doing it. Corey Edwards is the person who warned Gene and Puff that someone was going to unalive Biggie. Yep. When Bubbs came to Los Angeles to obtain the cocaine, he came with I read that already. Davis broke off the drug relationship with Bubbs after he believed that Bubbs and George were working with the FBI to make a case on Davis. On this occasion, in approximately 1993, Bubs and George came to the Los Angeles area to acquire cocaine. Before delivering the cocaine, Davis observed several cars surveilling him, which he believed to be FBI. He did not go through with the drug transaction. Davis never supplied cocaine to Greg Brooks. Davis knew Brooks was distributing to Baltimore. Now we over in Baltimore, y'all. Samuel Lopez became Davis's main supplier after Primo went to Colombia. Now he's selling on a new connect. Davis also began selling smaller quantities at this time. Samuel Lopez's brother, Herman Lopez, is currently in federal custody. Davis has heard that Samuel Lopez went to Mexico after the FBI attempted to arrest him. He done snitched and told that the dude left and went to Mexico. God damn. George Lopez, who's about 16 or 17 years old, used to answer the phone for Samuel. He's snitching on people running from prosecution. Oh, you dirty dog. Davis at first denied any drug connection with the individual referred to as Dupree, who lives in Palmdale. Davis initially said that he was trying to start a music company to sell CDs, and for this reason, he was in contact with Dupree. Oh no, Gemini, we ain't coast to coast snitching. Remember, he done told Mexico, Guatemala, Colombia. We international snitching now. Child, listen. Do you hear me? Agent then played for Davis a tape of an intercepted telephone conversation between David and Ezel Dupree Hall III. What a name. Ezel Dupree Hall III, which occurred on June 24th, 1997. Davis stated that the call was between him and Dupree and acknowledged that during the call, Dupree was saying that he had people coming from out of state to Los Angeles area to purchase cocaine. Davis denied knowing where the buyers from out of state were coming from. Okay. Agents then showed Davis the following Department of Motor Vehicles photographs with identifying information covered up. When shown the photograph of Samuel Lopez, Davis identified him as Samuel Lopez. You done snitched on the connect. You're snitching on the connect. When the photograph of Corey Edwards, Davis identified him as Corey Edward. When shown the photograph of Ezel Dupree Hall III, Davis identified him as the individual who lived in Palmdale called Dupree. Davis was again instructed to tell the truth. Davis did supply cocaine to Dupree. You know what? We ain't even got to the Diddy part yet. We live, Heidi. We still live, Bookie. This ain't no replay gang. We still on the chain gang. We reading about all the snitching that's going on. It's international snitching, okay? So first he said he didn't supply the cocaine. Now he's saying he did supply the cocaine. Dupree, an out-of-state buyer in Kentucky. Now we down in Kentucky again. A buyer in Kentucky and would bring suitcases of money to Davis to purchase 8 to 13 kilograms of cocaine at the time. Davis would then take the money to Lopez, acquire the cocaine, and give it to Dupree. You know what? I feel dirty reading this. I feel like I'm doing something wrong by reading this. What are we talking about here? Concerning the phone call played by the agents, the call concerned Dupree and Davis discussing waiting on the Kentucky buyer coming to Los Angeles to purchase cocaine. Now, see, first he said he ain't know where the out-of-state buyer was coming from, and now you said they coming from Kentucky. Oh, man, she going to Kentucky. She going to the fair to see the senorita with the flowers in her. Oh, okay, sorry. I had to get that out. I'm sorry. to purchase cocaine. Dupree had already had conversations with the Kentucky buyer as to the price that the buyer would pay for the cocaine. The transaction eventually occurred after the Kentucky purchaser arrived in Los Angeles wanting 11 kilograms of cocaine. Dupree then gave Davis approximately $200,000 in cash. Davis went to Palmdale to get the money and meet Dupree at the Holiday Inn, say what? On Palmdale Boulevard. Davis got the room. They dealing drugs at the Holiday Inn, y'all. I have never seen a snitch document, and this right here, the day after Davis picked up the money, he got the 11 kilograms of cocaine from Samuel Lopez. Dupree then sent one of his drug workers called Hammer and a black male about 50 years old to pick up the 11 kilograms from Davis. Davis believes the buyer from Kentucky was called Sporty. He was a light-skinned black male, about 29 or 30 years old, with crazy hair and gold teeth. He sounds like he's from Kentucky. Dupree is a member of the Carver Park Street Gang. Davis had been supplying him since around about 1996. At the time, Dupree was a middleman for local buyers. He then became a middleman for the Kentucky buyer. The Kentucky buyer paid out of state prices for the cocaine, and Dupree and Davis would split this out of state profit. The Kentucky buyer would pay approximately $29,000 or $30,000 per kilogram. Okay, he was getting money, it sounds like. Dupree is a music producer and has a music studio called K5, which is located in Palmdale on Palmdale Boulevard near 3rd Street. Dupree drives rental cars. Hammer, who is a drug courier for Dupree, is a contractor. Regarding 3 intercepted telephone conversations on June 20th, 1997, previously played for Davis. In the first 2 calls, Davis is talking to Sean Williams, who is also called Wood. In the calls, when 2 for 2 is said, they may be talking about playing Nintendo. Davis is not a party to conversations in the 3rd call. Davis would front cocaine to Williams generally in 9 ounces or half kilogram quantities. William would then sell the cocaine and bring the money back. You could only get half. You would get 9 ounces or you would get half a kilogram. I don't know, Lady T. We just reading. He sound like he from Miami Gardens. Okay. Gold teeth and crazy hair. Shout out to Miami Gardens. Davis would front cocaine. Okay, we already said, yeah. Okay, so prior to 1990, the leader of the Nutty Block Crips and was Wood Rat. Hold on. My fan is on, but I don't feel the air. It's getting hot in here. Okay, the leader of the Nutty Block Crips was Wood Rat, a brother of Sean Williams. So, the leader of the Nutty Block Crips was the brother to Sean Williams, who is Wood. Okay, since he went to jail in 1990, the leader of the Nutty Block Crips would have been Sean Williams, and Jesse, believed to be referred to as Jesse Barker. Another brother of Sean Williams is Danny Williams, who is known to be an informant for Baker, a Compton police officer. Wait a minute. We snitching on a snitch? Wait a minute. You snitching on a snitch? That's crazy work right there, okay? After Samuel Lopez fled to Mexico, Davis was supplied with cocaine by TJ, a Mexican supplier. Davis believes that TJ is still a supplier of cocaine. That's 3 suppliers that he done told on. Okay? He's snitching on 3 suppliers, y'all. Well, no, because this was in 1998, Killer Rob. This is from 1998. This is what Keefe D was snitching and saying in 98. They probably already got indicted. Why you bullshitting? When asked about the nature of his drug relationship with Rodney Blackman, Davis responded that sometimes Davis would have cocaine when Blackman did not, and Davis would supply it to Blackman. And other times Blackman, that's how you say it, Blackman, would have cocaine when Davis did not, and Blackman would supply Davis. So now he talking about when I ain't got none, I go to him, and when he ain't got none, he come to me. You just telling everything. Robert, a Mexican in Paramount, supplied black. Now you telling on Rodney, you telling on Rodney's connect now too? He done told on 3 of his connects, and now he done told on Rodney's connect. Oh, wait, and then he was telling on dude from Ohio. Listen. Concerning a vehicle stop of Davis in July of 1997, on the day Davis had met Blackman and Samuel Lopez at Samuel Lopez's drug location on Willowbrook in Compton. Lopez then told them to come back in 30 minutes to pick up the cocaine. Davis then got in the van with Blackman, and as they went to a Taco Bell, he realized they were under surveillance. They were subsequently stopped by LAPD. At the police station, a red-haired LAPD officer told Davis to stay out of Watts. Davis followed this order and stopped using Blackman's residence. After being released from custody, Davis and Blackman returned to Lopez's drug location and picked up 9 kilograms of cocaine. On a subsequent day, Davis observed that Blackman was being followed by law enforcement. Wait a minute. So you just got picked up by the police and taken into the station, and then you're told to stay out of Watts, and then you go and you turn around and you go back to the location where you were supposed to be picking up drugs to pick up the drugs and keep it moving. What? I would have went home. I wouldn't even bother. Like, I would have told them, like, yo, you got to meet me someplace else. Like, you went back to the location and now you talking about Rodney is underneath surveillance. Of course he's underneath surveillance now, because your ass done went back where they told you when they picked your ass up. You think they wasn't still watching you? Sure. Davis denied that he was the leader of the Southside Compton Crips. Darnell Brim, who was recently arrested, is the leader of the gang. Now I know that one right there. If you follow Do Sims and them, you probably already heard that one. I don't even know if they went through all of this or not. But now we in 1999. Okay, we in 1999, and this is the Bureau of Investigations. Okay, and this is the date of the transcript is in 1999. He ain't done telling, so that was 98. He was snitching. Now he's snitching in 99. Been snitching since. All right, let's do it. Dwayne Keefe Davis, protect identity. Date of birth, June 14th, 1963. Was interviewed by agents at the Federal Correction Institute. Oh, he was locked up in Sanford, Arizona. So now he's snitching in Arizona. I'm sorry. Prior to the interview, Assistant United States Attorney Michael Terrell had received permission from Davis's attorney, Edie File, for agents to conduct the interview. Davis was not advised of his Miranda rights during this interview. Davis requested confidentiality. Okay. During the interview, Davis provided the following information. Now, you know what I keep hearing? I keep hearing that he asked for confidentiality. And I only heard them say in the 1999 one that he wouldn't be prosecuted. But I ain't hear that in this one. He just asked for confidentiality. Okay. And he wasn't read his Miranda rights. You just talking. Concerning the shooting death of Orlando Anderson in May of 1998, Davis has heard that Daniel Smith, who people call Danny Stone, was involved in the shooting and was the person who shot and killed Anderson. Prior to the day of the shooting, Smith was going around telling rumors about Anderson and mouthing off about Anderson. On the day of the shooting, Anderson, who was with Owl, which we read this already, at a hamburger stand in Compton, California, saw Smith and crossed the street to a car wash and confronted him. Smith, who was with Michael and Jerry Stone, pulled out a gun and shot Anderson. Anderson then shot and killed the two Stones before he died. Smith is a member of the Corner Pocket Crips and is about 33 to 34 years old. Michael Stone was the leader of the Corner Pocket Crips. After the shooting, Owl was charged with manslaughter by the Compton Police Department. At Owl's preliminary hearing, Michael Stone's mother told the prosecutor and judge that they had the wrong person and that Smith, and not Owl, should have been charged. Davis believes that Anderson's death the day after the FBI arrest of Davis and others was just a coincidence. Davis is not aware of any motive for why the blood members or individuals associated with death row records would have wanted to kill Anderson. Anderson was not involved in the shooting. Anderson was not involved in the shooting death of Tupac Shakur, and neither Davis nor his group killed Shakur or Christopher Wallace, aka Notorious B.I.G. This is what he's telling them. This is what he's telling them in 1999. Davis does not know who killed the two rap stars. He believes that either individuals from New York associated with Puffy Combs or individuals associated with Death Row Records could have killed Shakur, and that individuals associated with Death Row Records killed Wallace. Now, ain't this some shit? This is what he's saying in 1999, y'all. The conflict between Davis and Marion Knight and the conflict between the Southside Compton Crips and the Compton Blood Pyru Gang began as a result of the mall altercation between Marcus Nunn, Orlando Anderson, and other members, including Trevon Lane. This altercation led to the later assault on Orlando Anderson in a Las Vegas casino, during which Knight, the Blood Gang members, and others associated with Death Row Records beat and kicked Anderson. Davis and Anderson were upset after the casino attack on Anderson, but they were not going to strike back with so many police officers around. They would have struck back once they returned to Compton. After Tupac Shakur was shot and killed shortly after the casino attack on Anderson, there was a war between the Southside Compton Crips and the Compton Blood Gangs. During the war, Davis's group lost Bobby Finch. Also, Darnell Brim was shot. Davis believes that the Compton Police Department spread the word that Anderson and Davis's group had killed Shakur. Also, people speculated that this is what happened because of the circumstances of the attack on Anderson shortly before the shooting. Davis is aware that Anderson testified favorably for Knight at Knight's probation violation hearing. Davis is unaware of Anderson receiving any payment for this testimony and is also unaware of any subsequent request or demand by Anderson for money from Knight. So imagine that. You got your ass whooped and then you went and you testified favorably for the person who whooped your ass. In the course of providing the above information, Davis advised that Knight's uncle was also in custody at the Sanford FCI. Davis further advised that he did not want any trouble with Knight or his people and just wanted to serve his time peacefully until released. The agents then showed Davis a California Department of Motor Vehicles photograph of James Anthony Welch with the identifying information covered up and asked Davis if he knew who the person in the photograph was. Davis then stated that the person in the photograph was called Rick James. Davis then immediately further stated that the word on the street was that this person had killed FL, a rap music promoter in Inglewood. The murder of FL was ordered by Knight. Knight and FL had agreed to a $150,000 record deal. Knight paid FL the $150,000, but FL did not produce the record. Knight then had Rick James kill FL. Knight also ordered the murder of 3 rap artists killed in Los Angeles in the same time period. These were the artists who were supposed to have performed on the record to be produced by FL. Cold-blooded. Rick James is a Treetop Blood Gang member. He recently cooperated against Pooh on a federal PCP case. Because of his cooperation, no one is dealing with him anymore. Davis was asked to provide further information regarding his previous information regarding Compton Police Department officers committing murders for Knight. Davis advised that specifically he had heard that Frederick Reynolds participated in the murder of Bruce Richardson. He is snitching. Boy, you snitching from 98 to... He's snitching in the 98 and the 99. The Compton Police Department executed 2 search warrants on Davis's location. Oh, wait a minute. Davis was asked to provide further information regarding... Okay, we told that already. The Compton Police Department executed 2 search warrants on Davis's location in connection with the rap murders. The first was in October of 1996 at the Burris Street address, and the second was in May of 1997 at the California Street address. Reynolds came to the California Street address during the second raid. Davis stated all of Compton PD is corrupt. Davis explained that numerous officers there have an affiliation with Knight and the Blood Street Gang. Davis denied having any association with any law enforcement officers who protected him or his drug organization. Davis does not know the names of most of the law enforcement officers he has observed associating with Knight and the Bloods. The only 2 Compton Police Department officers whose names he knows that are corrupt are Reginald Wright Sr. and Frederick Reynolds. He's snitching on the big Reggie and the little one. Davis has not heard any information regarding corruption by the chief of the Compton Police Department. Reginald Wright Jr. became the leader of Knight's criminal organization after Knight went to jail. Davis believes that Reginald Wright Jr. still controls the drug trade in the northern part of Compton. Reginald Wright Jr. tries to be hands-off in conducting his drug business, having his people physically take possession of and distribute the drugs, rather than handling the drugs himself. Davis advised that this was the matter in which he tries to operate his drug organization before his federal arrest. The agent showed Davis a photograph of an unidentified male who was referred to by other persons interviewed as Ponytail. Davis advised, I did read it before. Davis was then asked if he had heard of a supplier called Ponytail. Davis answered that he had heard that there was a big supplier of cocaine called Ponytail who had supplied Knight and other Blood gang members. Davis has also heard that Ponytail, who was believed to be Mexican, would distribute cocaine 500 kilograms at a time. God damn, 500 kilograms? Shit. Knight and then Reginald Wright Jr. were supplied with cocaine by All Star Tire and also by Ponytail. The main guy at All Star Tire involved in drug distribution is Gray. The main members of Reginald Wright Jr.'s organization are believed to be Buntree Al, Trayvon, Kevin Woods, Fink, and Zeke. Okay, Zinky a Blood and Fink a Crip and drug partners, and were drug partners prior to Davis's Little Rock cocaine shipment that was intercepted. After Davis stopped supplying the 2, they then began to be supplied by Knight. Fink had the connections with Davis. Zeke had the connections with Knight. Zeke hangs out at a Mob Piru hangout location at Stockton and Orchard in Compton. He telling where everybody be at. He what? Reggie tried to put the name Ponytail on Bounty. The main members of Reginald Wright Jr.'s, we already read that. Okay, Davis has heard that the shop formerly called Untouchables was moved and that Mexicans were now selling from the location. Both G-Ray and Jim, who used to distribute drugs at the shop, are both members of the Spooktown Crips. Since the FBI arrest in May of 1998, people are scared to conduct narcotics activities in the Jordan Downs housing project. Child. And that was in 1999, okay? Where we at right now? We in 09. We are in 2009, you guys. Snitching since 1998. If you are just tapping in and tuning in, please be sure that you tap that like button. And yes, it is true. Keefe D has petitioned He's petitioned the Supreme Court of Nevada asking for them to dismiss his case because he claims that he had immunity in the interviews that he did with local and federal government agencies, and he should not be locked up in jail. Now, if Keefe D gets this dismissal, the Tupac case will be lost forever. And what we are doing is we are going through the interviews that he did in 98, 99, and now we are in 2009. And we're going to read what he said. So far, he has snitched globally on suppliers and people that he supplied, on locations, on murders. Like, he's just snitching on any and everything that he knows. I agree with you, Killer Rob. He said, and Wack 100 and Reggie get along with Keefe D. Something is to that. Absolutely. I miss Suge running Death Row. Death Row wasn't the same when Dre and DJ left. You're right. Dre was definitely fattest. He sure did, but his immunity was partial and not full immunity. I only heard of them saying he wasn't going to be prosecuted in 1998. All he asked for in 1999 was them to keep it confidential. But I didn't hear them tell him in that transcript that his immunity deal was going to transfer over to 99. I didn't hear that. If he come out of jail, Jocelyn, because I don't know. There's a lot riding on this. All right, so on December 18th, 2008, he is now talking to Task Force Officer Greg Caden, William Holcomb, and Darian Dupree, along with Federal Bureau of Investigation Special Agent Jeff Bennett. Interviewed Davis regarding the murder of Tupac Shakur. The interview was conducted at 8447 Wilshire Boulevard, Suite 100 in Los Angeles, California. Also present was Davis's attorney, Wayne Higgins. All right. Here we go. Davis was advised that the purpose... Okay, wait. On December 18, 2008, at approximately 10:30 a.m., investigators met with Dwayne Davis at Davis's attorney's office. Davis reviewed reports containing prior interviews Davis had completed. Davis pointed out several discrepancies in the prior reports, admitting he had not been entirely truthful with specific details, including the circumstances surrounding the murder of Shakur. Now, pause. When you are given immunity, you have immunity and you are supposed to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And now he's saying he lied. So then you devoided your immunity deal by lying. All right. Davis was advised that the purpose of the interview was to correct Davis's previous false statements as they related to the murder of Shakur and provide investigators with the factual details. Davis provided the following explanation. In the early 90s, Davis associated with Flint. Flint is known to investigators as Flintard Coleman. Coleman and Davis occasionally played against each other during neighborhood basketball games. Coleman was affiliated with the Santa Block Crips, and Davis was a member of the Southside Crips. The gang teams would compete for bottles of champagne. It was during these games that Coleman introduced Davis to Zip. Zip is known to investigators as Eric Martin. Martin would occasionally play for Coleman's team. Davis recalls Coleman beginning his drug activities around this time. Davis, who was also involved in narcotic sales, traveled to New York with Coleman to visit Martin. The purpose of the trip was to conduct a multi-kilogram cocaine deal with Martin. Davis, who was providing the cocaine, stayed at Martin's house in Jersey City. Coleman acted as a broker between Davis and Martin. After Coleman was arrested in Florida, Davis conducted a PCP transaction with Martin being Zip, okay, and began to socialize with Martin when Martin would come to Los Angeles. I'm going to stop calling him Martin. I'm going to call him Zip, all right? In or around 1992, Zip introduced Keefe D to Sean Puffy Combs. Oh, shit. I know it ain't a lot of people in here. I'm just checking. Yeah, I knew it. Let me take a big pull. Let me take a couple big pulls on my vape. She said, we here. I need to drink more water because I want to make sure that I'm well lubricated. Excuse me. All right. In or around 1992, Zip introduced Keefe D to Sean Puffy Combs. Okay. Keefe D recalls the introduction occurring at the Palisades nightclub on Santa Monica Boulevard. After speaking to Diddy, Keefe D agreed to allow Combs to use his 1964 Chevy in a music video. The video featured the artist Usher. After the vehicle was damaged in the production of the video, Combs paid $2,500 to have it repaired. Davis recalls Martin Zip visiting Los Angeles on a monthly basis. Davis recalls meeting with Combs socially on several occasions. Most of the meetings between Davis and Combs occurred at Greenblatt's restaurant on Sunset Boulevard. However, Combs became hesitant to visit Los Angeles because of ongoing hostilities between Mary and Suge Knight. The hostilities were exacerbated after Knight appeared on stage during an award show in New York and publicly humiliated Combs. During the 1995 music festival known as Summer Jam, Knight approached Davis and asked Davis how he knows Combs. Davis told Knight, "The same way I know you." Davis next recalled that Knight's associate and bodyguard Jay Robles was shot in Atlanta. This incident occurred on September 23rd, 1995. Davis heard rumors that Wolf killed Robles. Wolf is known to investigators as Anthony Jones. Jones was an associate of Combs. However, Jones is now deceased. On a future occasion, Davis and Zip were together in Compton, California, when Combs called Zip on his cell phone. Combs requested to speak to Davis and asked Davis if he thought it was safe for Combs to come to Los Angeles for a concert. Combs expressed his concern about Knight and possible retaliation related to the Robles murder. Davis advised Combs that if he would provide Davis with 40 to 50 tickets to the concert, Davis could provide an entourage. Combs agreed, and Davis and his crew, in fact, attended the concert in support of Combs. Davis noted that Knight and his associates did not attend the concert. She said, not Justin Real Daddy. Uniquely. Stop it. Okay. All right. So he's using, here goes the connection. Exactly. Hey, Poppington, there go the connection. Okay. So now Davis was introduced to Diddy through Zip. And now Diddy has employed Keefe D is Davis. Diddy has now employed Keefe D to be his muscle when he comes to LA. Okay. Davis recalls the concert taking place in Anaheim, California. It was at this event that Combs began to solicit Davis to kill Knight and Shakur. Combs asserted something to the effect of, "I'll give anything for those dudes' heads." Davis stated that Wendell Prince, Orlando Anderson, and Corey Edwards, Michael Durat, and Denvanata Lee may have heard Combs' statement. After the concert, Combs, along with Davis and members of his entourage, went to a party at a hotel. Davis thought the hotel may have been the Hilton. The party took place inside of a suite. Davis recalls, among others, Combs, Zip, Andre Harrell, and D-Mac, known to investigators as Darius Rogers, to be present. In an adjoining room, where additional security personnel hired by Combs where additional security hired by Combs claimed they were Navy SEALs. So Diddy had Navy SEAL security guards? Prior to the Anaheim concert event, Davis and his associates had attended other concerts in San Diego with Combs. However, at this event, Davis's entourage was much smaller, approximately 12 members, including Martin Anderson and DeAndre Smith. It was during this event that Davis met Biggie Smalls, Christopher Wallace, and for the first time. Additionally, Davis has met with Combs and Wallace in Las Vegas during a boxing match. Davis believes it may have been an Evander Holyfield-Buster Douglas fight. The fight was earmarked by a fan who had parachuted into the boxing ring, creating melee. Davis and his crew stayed at the Treasure Island Casino and attended a party hosted by Irving Magic Johnson. Davis does not recall any discussions about Knight or Shakur at these events. At a later date, Dwayne Davis, Eric Martin, Corey Edwards, Sean Combs, and others met at Golden Black's restaurant in Hollywood. While at the restaurant, Combs summoned Davis into a downstairs area. Combs again told Davis Combs, needed to get rid of Knight and Shakur. Combs offered Davis $1 million to handle the problem. Davis remembers Combs being very afraid of Knight. On the day before the Tupac murder, Davis, Martin, and others met at Greenblatt's restaurant and departed for Las Vegas to view a Mike Tyson fight. Davis drove a rented black Century, Martin drove a Mercedes-Benz, and Davis's brother, Kevin Davis, drove a rented van. Corey Edwards and Tracy Sessions drove in the van with Kevin Davis. Davis went to Las Vegas to view the fight and was not anticipating the confrontation with Knight and Tupac. Davis stayed at the Monte Carlo Casino in a room reserved under his wife Paula Clemens' name. The following day, Orlando Anderson, Terrence Brown, and DeAndre Smith arrived in Las Vegas, driving a rented Cadillac. The Cadillac was rented by Brown's mother-in-law. Anderson stayed at the Excalibur Casino. After acquiring fight tickets from a scalper and meeting up with Martin, the group went to the MGM Casino to witness the bout. After the fight, Davis, Kevin Davis, Terrence Brown, and others went to get something to eat. Anderson was not with Davis due to the fact that his seating location was separate during the fight. While at the restaurant, Davis was informed that Anderson had been assaulted. Davis recalls Martin, Zip, being in the lobby area with a friend, Richie Rich, and other New York associates. Martin, Zip, and Davis, Zip asked Davis, "Do you need some help?" Zip advised Davis that he had a gun available. Davis also encountered another associate of his, Anthony Triggs, who offered to help Davis retaliate against Anderson's assailants. Davis informed Martin and Triggs that his crew would handle the problem. After encountering Martin in the lobby, Martin and Davis went to Martin's vehicle in the parking lot. Inside of Martin's Mercedes-Benz, Davis observed female rap artist Inga Marchand, aka Foxy Brown. Martin directed Brown to exit the car so that Davis and Martin could talk. Privately, Davis sat in the front passenger seat while Martin occupied the driver's seat. Martin removed a handgun from a compartment in the armrest. Martin gave the firearm to Davis. Davis observed the weapon to be a .40 caliber Glock handgun. Martin encouraged Davis to follow through with the shooting, advising it was a perfect opportunity to get Knight and Shakur. Davis was aware that Knight and Shakur were expected to attend an event at Knight's nightclub, the 662. Davis got into the rental van with his brother, Wendell Prince, Corey Edwards, Tracy Sessions, an unknown passenger from Detroit, Michigan, while Orlando Anderson, DeAndre Smith, and Terrence Brown were in the rented Cadillac. Anderson told Davis he had a gun secured under the hood of the Cadillac. The group drove to the 662 Club looking for Knight and Shakur. While at the club, Edwards became apprehensive, causing Davis to be uncomfortable around Edwards. After waiting for approximately 15 minutes, the group became impatient and decided to go to a liquor store to purchase alcohol. At the liquor store, Davis exited the van and got into the Cadillac. Davis advised he sat in the front passenger seat. Brown drove, Smith sat behind Brown, and Anderson sat behind Davis. After leaving the liquor store, the occupants of the Cadillac observed female pedestrians yelling, "Tupac, Tupac," at a passing convoy of vehicles. Brown negotiated a U-turn and drove after the convoy. Upon reaching the convoy, the passengers of the Cadillac began scan the occupants of the convoy, attempting to locate Knight and Shakur. Brown pulled along the passenger side of the vehicle containing Shakur and Knight, causing DeAndre Smith to be in the best position to shoot. Davis handed the handgun he received from Martin, to Smith. Smith expressed reluctance to shoot, so Anderson grabbed the gun from Smith and began shooting at Knight's vehicle. While Anderson was shooting, Davis recalls Knight looking directly at Davis. Davis recalled Tupac trying to escape the line of fire by getting in the back seat. As Brown drove away from the scene, the vehicle attempted to follow the suspect's vehicle. Davis believes the car was a Sebring or something similar, driven and occupied by females. Anderson shot at the pursuing vehicle, causing it to cease. Brown then drove the group to a parking lot near the carriage house. The group exited the car, and Anderson placed the gun on top of the front passenger tire. While the group walked to the Monte Carlo casino, they observed a passing ambulance, which they presumed was en route to the hospital from the shooting scene. The group then spent the evening partying at the Monte Carlo casino. The following day, Davis said Terrence Brown returned to the Cadillac to ensure no casings were present. Davis, his wife Paula Clemens, Orlando Anderson, and Anderson's girlfriend returned to Los Angeles in the Buick Century. During the morning hours, Davis received a telephone call from Martin. Martin requested Davis meet him at a restaurant in Los Angeles. Davis recalled the restaurant being a hot wing place on Melrose Boulevard and La Brea Avenue. While at the restaurant, Martin told Davis that Combs had called Martin and asked, "Was that us?" Martin said he also received a phone call from Faith Evans about the shooting. Evans is known to investigators to have been the wife of Christopher Wallace at the time. Davis asked Martin when he would receive compensation for the shooting. Martin told Davis he would get the money when he returned to New York. Additionally, while at the restaurant, Combs called Martin again. Martin then handed the phone to Davis. Combs again inquired, "Was that us?" Davis recalled Combs sounding elated about the situation. Davis recalled holding a gang meeting and disclosing to the members of the gang what had happened in Las Vegas. The meeting took place in Cerritos at a regional park in Bellflower Boulevard. Davis continued to make efforts to collect the hit money from Martin. Eventually, Davis arranged to meet with Martin at the Roxbury Club on Sunset Boulevard. Darius Rogers and Fleetwood were also at the location with Martin. Martin and Davis spoke privately. Martin explained that Combs had not yet given him the money to give to Davis. This meeting took place approximately 1 month after Shakur's murder. Eventually, Davis was arrested pursuant to an unrelated narcotics investigation and went to prison. Since Davis's release from prison, he's had no contact with Martin or Combs. During the summer of 2008, Davis encountered Darius Rogers in San Fernandino Valley at a 76 gas station off Topanga Boulevard. Davis advised Rogers that he needed to get in touch with Combs. Rogers informed Davis that Combs had given the contract money to Martin. However, Martin kept the money. According to Rogers, Combs and Martin had a falling out over the matter. Davis also recalled hearing that Martin had kept the money from another New York drug dealer named Gregory Kane. This conversation occurred sometime in 2005 while Kane and Davis were together in Kevin Davis's house in Corona, California. Hold on, y'all. Sorry. That was very distracting for me. Oh, yeah, guys. The Zip dude had to be who Foxy was cheating or corrupt with. Had to be. Had to be. But, you know, I had read this to y'all already. There's another video that I had already did where he was saying Keefe D had said something about Reggie Wright's security being the ones that actually orchestrated all of that. My thing is this. We may never know exactly what happened that night because, as you can see, his story has changed so many times. And now, with him trying to petition to get his case dismissed, if he gets it dismissed, this case is going forever. And we never find out what happened. Afeni Shakur is gone. You know, Pac has family members that are still around, that are still seeking justice. He has friends who love him. He has fans who forever love him and want to know what happened. But even reading that part, even though we know all of it, I had to take a breath for a second because that was like, the fact that Reggie Wright and Keefe D have ties. Wack has a tie to Reggie Wright and Keefe D. Wack was not too long ago trying to get Keefe D's life rights. What I find also funny is that Wack has not talked about how Keefe D is trying to get his case dismissed. If everybody in that car wasn't brought up on charges, everybody in that car should have at least been questioned. They were all persons of interest and suspects, and they had motive. Greg Cadence talked about this, and he said how, you know, he was being stopped from investigating this correctly. But if you believe what Keefe D is saying, then you know that there were corrupt cops beyond just Reggie Wright Jr. and Sr. that were in that police department. There's a YouTube channel called Tupac Assassin, I believe is his name. And he inherited all of the Tupac files. And he's done a lot of documentaries on this. How I came about him is when I did the previous video on Keefe D talking about right way security being involved, because he said that he hired private investigators. Who really killed Tupac? Is Keefe D covering up for somebody? But the crazy part about all of this is for years, he's done interviews and he's made comments about Tupac hopping around in the back seat and laughing about it and things of that nature. And if I'm going to be honest with you, as a Tupac fan, I've never cared for Keefe D. I don't think any of us cared for Keefe D. Greg lies a lot. The chain story came from Reggie. The mall incident happened months before Tupac. It doesn't make sense for the fight. Well, I mean, I don't know if it came from Greg Cadence or not because he wasn't present during the first time Keefe D told that story from what we read. So I don't know. But one of them in that car did. I believe it was Orlando. Keefe is definitely covering up for Reggie. He was on payroll. Thank you for the Cash App. I appreciate y'all. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Now I do remember reading those documents before with Deuce M's on Damu Kiwe. But I don't know. Who wants to go to jail forever? He's not covering up. I'm wondering, because he also said that Diddy offered $1 million and that Zip was given the $1 million and it was never given to him for the hit, allegedly. I just want to know, as a fan, what happened. They killed Russell Poole. Russell Poole was the original one that was on his case, right? That's the guy that had the mustache that they made leave, right? That's why Keefe telling everything. Keefe said, "Oh, you ain't tell me you ain't pay me. You still ain't pay me. All these years later, you still ain't pay me. I'm finna tell." I done already told globally. I done told on everybody around the world. Got you. Russell Poole, Greg Caden stole his information, is what you're saying? Reggie and his daddy was there when Poole died. I heard that. You know, I always wanted to investigate what happened with Tupac, but you know, the only person that has all of that information for real is that channel. Matter of fact, let me pull it up because he's really dope. Oh, I was supposed to play this for y'all. Hold on. Let me do what I was supposed to do, which is play this thing for y'all because I pulled it up to play it. So let me go ahead and play it because it's the news. The news in Fox 5 Vegas was talking about this Keefe D case.
The law firm representing Dwayne Keefe D. Davis in the trial for the murder of Tupac now is asking the Nevada Supreme Court to drop all charges in the case. This comes after the district court denied a motion to dismiss the original case. The law group claims the district court never determined whether the state had any admissible evidence other than witness statements. It believes if it does go to trial, it would be unconstitutional. And they say it would set a dangerous precedent for future cases. Davis is the only person to ever be charged in the killing of rapper Tupac Shakur. The trial is expected to start in February of next year.
So y'all know I didn't just pull it out my booty hole. Okay, but let me do this. Let me do this. Right here. Oh, he's actually live right now, you guys. I don't want to pull his channel up and play his live while he's live because he really doesn't like when you use his stuff without asking permission. But he has documentaries. He's gone over a lot of stuff, okay? And he inherited these documents, like the caseload. He has a documentary on Tubi that you guys can go and watch. I don't always catch him when he's live, and then when I do get on the live, I have a short attention span. I'm not gonna lie, I do. I have ADHD, and I'll be like, "Ooh, something shiny is over here." But he has videos, he has lives, that you can go and watch. So definitely, I don't normally do this. I don't normally do this. I don't normally shout out another channel like this and tell you guys to go follow. But if you are a true Tupac fan, this is the channel that you guys need to be following, because he has all the documentation. I know he's already probably read these documents 1,000,001 times already. He has stuff that we can't get to. Okay. And he sits and he talks about it. Right now, he's beefing with Reggie Wright and Bomb First, because Reggie Wright, has an issue with him. Why? Because Reggie Wright is in them documents. So I'm just curious as to what's what. I'm wondering, did Reggie Wright tell security to fall back because Keefe D told him to? Because I think we all know now that Suge Knight didn't tell him that, because at first everybody was saying it was Suge, but it wasn't Suge. I think I'll be leaning to the wrong side, because the thing is over there. It's over here. And I'll be leaning over here. Y'all can't see me. I got to lean this way. It was completely shady. I was watching one of the retired cops interview, and he said Greg stole the info from a private cookout. I forgot the guy's name. It's crazy. I follow that channel and watched all of his video. I was bored and binge watched a lot Tupac documentaries. He got a lot of information. I swear that's my ADD earth. Oh, I'm that person that can start 7 different things in 30 minutes, then can't figure out how to get them all done. That's me. That is me. Okay. Shannon said, I'm going now. Like, I'm done. Thank you, Henny. Bye. But listen, you guys, I'm not even caring about numbers and all of that other stuff that is going on right now. What I care about is putting out good content. Numbers will follow. I just want to give y'all, information, proper information at that. Yes, I am back on Wax Ass, so we could talk about that really quickly if you guys want to talk about that. Henny Glasses in the chat if you want to get my 1-2 on what's going on. If what you want to know what's going on, let me tell you. First of all, let me pull up my Instagram for y'all real quick. Oh, shoot, I got to log in. Let me stop sharing because I don't want to accidentally. Okay, what is my name? That Girl Henny Reviews. Is that it? That was it. Okay. I couldn't remember if that was the password or not. All right. So let me go ahead and let me bring this up for y'all so we can go on ahead and we can talk about it. And not just, no, you good, Shannon, if you go over there. No, I'm just playing with you. Like, we good. All right. So if you are not following me over here, then you are not following me over here. I mean, I be over here, but I don't be over here because I be over here more often. Or I be hiding. Hey. All right. So let's get into what's been going on. All right. So first and foremost, let's start with this. Let me big it up so y'all can see it. This is the Burbank Police Department. This is their document. Can you see it? You can see it because I made myself little. All right. This is pertaining to Wack 100. All right. Wack 100, Adam 22. Yes, I know that y'all have heard that they are listed in a police report and that there is a case coming down on them by way of Jay Reed. Okay. Now, we don't have access to the full police report because from what I'm understanding, you can't get it if you ain't a person that's named in the police report. You just can't get it. Now, Wack did go on Academics podcast yesterday, and he was talking to him over the phone. And he gave Academics the documents, but Academics did not show them clearly on the screen. But he did give him the documents. Academics, to my knowledge, did not read the documents. He just put them up on the screen while Wack was talking. So we really don't have the full document, but I can tell you what is being said in here thus far. Okay. So thus far, what we do have is that this report is a summary of the investigation, refer to my body-worn camera, and upload the video of the incident for specific actions and statements. On January 2nd, 2025, at approximately 15:30, which would be 3:30 in the afternoon, Officer Codwell and I, Officer Meninskin, I think that's his name, responded to the front counter of the Burbank Police Department regarding a robbery report. Upon our arrival, we contacted the victim, Jermel Reed. The following is a summary of the reported incident according to Reed. On December 26, 2024, Reed went to the location of No Jumper Podcast Studio at 2508 North Ontario Street for a business meeting with person of interest, or P&I, Cash Jones, known professionally as Wack 100, P&I, Adam Graham Mason, known professionally as Adam 22, suspect, Tremaine Williams, also known as Loose Cannon, okay? Damn, I put my thing over it. Now, this is where he got things wrong, because he says that Jones is a rapper, a music manager, hip-hop, something or another, but basically he's not a rapper, okay? And that he manages several music artists. Jones admitted to being a member of the Pacoma Piru Bloods with a moniker of Little Wack. During a social media interview on December 6th of 2023, Jones stated he got jumped into the gang when he was 12 years old and still claims to be a member of the gang. The Pirus is an umbrella street gang alliance under the larger Alliance Bloods based out of Compton, California, which eventually spread to Carson, Inglewood, and Watts. The name Piru is derived from Piru Street in Compton. The Piru Alliance is under the Blood Alliance, in which the Piru Alliance has street gang sets which have subsets. There are currently 15 known Piru sets in the greater Los Angeles area. The Pacoma Pirus are a criminal street gang as defined by 186.22 PC. So this is the cover that we got, okay? We don't have anything else, can't tell you nothing else, don't know nothing else. But Jay Reed took it upon himself to come on social media and make a little video. That's what he had to say.
I'm mad too. I'm mad at put his hands on me. I'm mad at did this for content, and then to top it off, go around like his content or something. Like you got an action-packed movie or something. All right, we'll pay the actors then. You know what I mean? Pay the actors then. That was in that action-packed movie. I need mines off the dribble.
Off the dribble.
Thought I wasn't. Thought I wasn't. 50 mil. 50. Damn near glasses almost came. 50 mil
50
almost
mil.
Came off when I said that. Some people could be mad. I'm mad too.
Some people could be mad. I'm mad too. So aside from Dre Reed coming out saying he going for 50 mil, because y'all recorded me for content and then you made me content and you put it out there and you think it's sweet, so now I'm going to get 50 mils out of you. But Mozzie had a message for him.
CEO Dash, I just wanted to address some shit with the Jay Reed situation. Jay Reed, stop the capping online, man. You had no dealings with Dash. You're not a part of Dash. I met you one time. That was it. I don't even know. You came with some people that I know, with Travis, you know. But as far as you saying you had dealings with Wack 100, with me, you had no dealings with us. So whatever situation you got going on with Loose Cannon or whatever happened or whatever whatnot went through has nothing to do with Dash, nothing to do with us at all. None of my dealings and partnerships and nothing to do with that, man. So change the narrative, bro, because you're capping. And I had to say it because I'm getting too many people hitting me up about this whole situation. And, you know, I didn't even go out there. I let Wack know, like, I'm not making it, and then that was that. So I don't know why you went up there, whatever problems or issues or your relationship with Loose Cannon, that's between y'all. It has nothing to do with anybody that I'm doing dealings with. I don't know. So I just had to say something because it's just too many people hit me up about this shit. I'm out.
Yes, I stole it from off his page. I sure did. I sure the hell did. So Mozzie is saying, oh, wait a minute. There was something else I wanted to show y'all with that. Hold on.
So yo, check it out. It's your boy Mozzie, CEO of Dodge. I just wanted to address some shit with the Jay Reed situation. Jay Reed, stop the capping online, man.
Okay, we heard you. Stop capping online, man. Okay. Well, why I can't see my comments? Hold on, because y'all, there's a comment. I got a comment in here for y'all to see. Let me see something. Okay, there you go. Can y'all see this right here? So look, they in my comments, y'all. I said, looks like nobody know Jay Reed. Not only does Wack 100 say he doesn't know him, but now Dosh CEO Mozzie is now saying he doesn't know him either. Child, this story is getting messier than some extra wet hot wings. What say you? So Travis Ford got down there in my comment section and he said, I grew up with Jay Reed. He mentored me to help change my life 8 years ago, but have nothing to do with my partner. With respect to all parties. And then Dosh CEO Mozzie said, I don't. So they don't know him. They said, we don't know you, sir. But like he said, y'all finna know me. He said, y'all finna know me. Y'all don't know me now, but y'all finna know me. All right. So before we get off of here, I might as well just go ahead and just give y'all everything. Giving you the best that I got, baby. All right. So I have two things to give y'all. This second one is crazy. Like, it is annoying. Okay. Let's do it. Oh, let's do it. Oh, let's do it. All right. Let me put my thing up. Hold on. Now I'm coming. Boom. Okay. Now let me big it on up. So. Oh, wait. This ain't the right one. Hold on. That's the wrong one. Hold on. I'm coming. All right. This is the government's response. So if you was here for some Sean Diddy news content, you might as well just go on ahead and come get it in. Come on now. Come on in the room. All right. So the government responded to Judge Submarinian. Remember, he asked the government to explain what the redaction was for. So here goes what they are saying. The government respectfully submits their letter in response to the court's order dated August 1st, 2025, directing the government to explain the needs for redactions in its July 31st, 2025 letter opposing the defendant's motion for bail. Given the use of pseudonyms, the unredacted version of the letter, okay? For the reasons stated below, the government submits that a redacted portion of its opposition motion should be filed under seal. Okay? It says legal standard. The public has a presumptive common law right to access judicial documents, and the First Amendment protects the public's right to access judicial documents and proceedings. Okay? Notwithstanding the presumption of access under both the common law and the First Amendment, the document may be kept under seal if countervailing factors in common with law framework or high values in the First Amendment framework so demand. The Second Circuit has held that the privacy interests of innocent third parties, as well as those of defendants that may be harmed by disclosure, should weigh heavily in the court's balance equation. The Second Circuit has identified such interests as vulnerable common law exceptions to the presumption of access in determining the weight to be accorded in assertion of high right of privacy. Hold on. I can't see that. Hold on a second. Because I know y'all are going to ask me a question. Hold on. I have something. Somebody asked me about something, and I have something for you. Yep, I got that too. All right. All right. All right. All right. In determining the weight to be accorded in its assertion of right of privacy, court should first consider the degree in which the subject matter is traditionally considered private rather than public. Okay, so they're giving examples like listing financial records of wholly owned business, family affairs, illnesses, embarrassing conduct with no public ramifications, and similar matters, as weighing more heavily against access and conduct affecting a substantial portion of the public. The nature and degree of injury must also be weighed. Finally, in balancing the qualified right of public access against privacy interests, courts should consider the sensitivity of the information and the subject, and where and whether there is a fair opportunity for the subject to respond to any accusations contained therein. Okay, the court Amito found that the voluntary cooperation of a person who may want or need confidentiality is also often essential to judicial efficiency. Thus, if release of judicial document is likely to cause person in the particular or further cases to resist involvement where cooperation is desired, the effect should be weighed against the presumption of access. Okay, so you know what? I know y'all are probably like, Henny, what does all of this mean, right? So basically, the government is asking to keep certain statements from witnesses and victims under seal. Even though Diddy's team and the public may want to see it, they want to keep it sealed, all right? They're saying that the public doesn't have a right to access judicial documents under both common law and the First Amendment, but the right can be overridden by what they call countervailing factors and high values, all right? Meaning that protecting the privacy of the innocent third party, which in this case includes cooperating witnesses, which means that they have somebody who is cooperating that's not testifying. So you have a snitch. And they're saying basically that direct statements made by witnesses and victims not disclosed during trial, okay, shouldn't be unredacted, even though this is probably within what they call 3,500 material, and that includes witness statements given to the law enforcement, which would be them. Okay, so that means that even though they're a part of that 3,500 material, and there may be a pseudonym, we're still not giving up that information because it's privy to privacy, because we don't want to put anybody's information out there that could possibly receive some backlash. So they're not trying to like hide a fact. They're trying to shield people who could possibly come forward. And they want to shield the people who talked about highly sensitive topics, like if they were talking about anything that was sexual, coercive, or private trauma, things like that. So they're trying to protect whoever it is. I don't know if I said it was Gina. I don't know if it was Gina. We don't know if it was somebody else. So that's basically what they're saying, that they should be able to keep everything private. In a nutshell, that was the government's response to things. But I also have for you something that somebody asked me about earlier that I had no knowledge of, but now I have knowledge of, that I'm going to play for you. Hopefully there's...
When you stop seeing
So if you don't know who the woman is that is on the screen, this would be Nicole Westmoreland. So you had Alexandra Shapiro, who was on Law and Crime last night. And Alexandra Shapiro, she said not everybody.
For you in our Law and Justice lead, CNN's Elizabeth Wagmeister just sat down with Nicole Westmoreland. She is one of the top attorneys for Sean Diddy Combs. For Westmoreland's very first interview since Diddy was acquitted of the most serious charges in his federal sex trafficking trial, but convicted on prostitution offenses. Elizabeth Wagmeister joins us now. Elizabeth, let's start with the major headline that Westmoreland just told you about conversations that they are attempting with the Trump administration about a possible pardon.
Yeah, so there have been many reports recently that the Trump administration has been seriously considering a pardon. Now, I had heard from my sources, Jake, that those reports were premature, and the president actually commented on this just days ago. Take a look at what Nicole told me. Have people in Sean Combs's orbit, have they had conversations with the Trump administration?
Yes. My understanding is that we have reached out.
Reached out is one thing. Having a conversation is another. Do you know if there have been active conversations about a pardon?
Yes, we've. It's my understanding that we've reached out and had conversations in reference to a pardon.
President Trump, when he was asked about this pardon, he said, quote, "I was very friendly with him. I got along with him great, and he seemed like a nice guy. I didn't know him well, but when I ran for office, he was very hostile." And the president indicated that a pardon is likely not on the table because of that break in his relationship with Mr. Combs years ago. How is he feeling now about the chances of a pardon given the president's commentary?
I think that Mr. Combs is a very hopeful person, and I believe that he remains hopeful.
Now, Jake, the White House responded to us when we reached out to comment, and they said that they will not comment on the existence or non-existence of any clemency request.
And Elizabeth, you also asked Westmoreland about the defense team's strategy during the trial. Tell us about that.
Yes, we talked in great length about the strategy during the trial because, of course, as you said, Sean Combs, he was acquitted on the most serious charges. So take a look at what she said about their strategy from day one, Jake. This verdict was, in no uncertain terms, a victory for the defense. Talk about that strategy from day one to come out of the gate and say he is a domestic abuser, but that is not what he is on trial for here.
So, the strategy was to just tell the truth. That's really what we decided, to just tell the truth. We didn't need a creative story. We didn't need to overreach. We knew that telling the truth meant not guilty. We knew that he had not sex trafficked anyone, and we knew that RICO was absurd. So we figured, hey, we'll tell the truth and that will pay off. And I believe that for the most part, that strategy worked.
He is still facing around 70 civil allegations from men, from women, from people who allege that they were minors at the time, across decades, with horrific accusations of being drugged, of being sexually assaulted. Each of those cases does have to play through the courts individually. So I understand that he denies them, but those are still active cases. True,
but let me say this to you. We are talking about the United States government. This is the federal government. All right, it doesn't really get any stronger than that. And so they obviously fully investigated Mr. Combs and obviously threw the book at him, right? And so if you think for a second, if the government really thought that there were minors out there hanging in the balance, if the government really thought that there was drugs in the baby oil or something of that nature, do you think the government just wouldn't have brought that up in a full-fledged criminal trial? Absolutely not, right? So that's not even logical. And so if the government if there was any real evidence of those allegations, we would have heard all about it in the criminal trial.
Now, Jay, Combs's team has made numerous attempts at bail. Just yesterday, the judge denying him bail. His sentencing is set for October 3rd. His attorney there told me that they are disappointed in the decision for the judge to deny bail, but they do have a pending motion asking for the judge to fully acquit Sean Combs or to give him a new trial. And Nicole told me that she believes that the judge should grant that.
Well, there you have it. So let me just say this. She makes some points. She makes some valid points. I like Nicole Westmoreland. But let me say this. There were things that the government did have that they did not charge him with. For example, they talked about firearms with scratched off serial numbers in the case, but they did not bring those scratched off serial number firearms up in the charges, which was really shocking a lot of people. And people keep asking, why didn't they bring those up? Now, I know some people are saying, well, that's because he had security, this, that, and the third. But y'all know I'm not going to always go by what other people say. And so I started looking some things up. And what I discovered was that even though they may not have been registered to him, even though he may not have had any DNA on them, they were discovered in a property that he was in control of, which was his home. So he very well, that is illegal. It doesn't matter if you bought a firearm legally. The minute you scratch the serial numbers off of that, and it doesn't matter about security, armed security services that he has there or any of that, the minute you scratch a serial number, alter a serial number, do anything to the serial number, which is basically like the social security number of a firearm, the minute you do that, it becomes an illegal firearm. And nobody ever stepped up and copped to it being theirs. So at the end of the day, that was something that they could have charged him with, but they didn't. They also could have charged him with dealing in obscene matters, which would have qualified the freak offs. If y'all remember, I was talking about this when we were going through the trial and we were trying to figure out, well, what were the predicates that they were trying to charge him with, right? So when they didn't charge him with that, that also was suspicious. When we go back to what Damian Williams said that they had, or in the indictment, the original indictment that came down, they said that he had sex rooms in the house, but there were no photographs of the sex rooms that were brought up. They said that there were videotapes, and we saw that there was actually a station where security cameras were. And when we saw the videos of Justin being put against the wall and being handcuffed and all of that, that came from home personal security cameras. So they were saying that they had all of these videos of things that were going on as well in the house and the parties and all of that stuff. They had all of this stuff, and the government held back. And so everybody that is remembering that is not just going off of, oh, well, they didn't charge him with it, so it didn't exist. I'm not falling for that. And I'm going to tell you why I'm not falling for that. It's not because I want to see him go down. So please don't come in my comments saying that. The reason I'm saying that is because if we look back on the history of people who have had cases come against them and those cases go awry, they go to the left, or, the conviction is not had at that moment, there's always a spin the block moment that happens. And that's a possibility. You know what I'm saying? And as me as a person, I all of these people all over, I'm not even talking about the lawsuits, but I'm talking about over the years, people have come out with stories all over the place. So you're telling me everybody's lying? You have someone who was close to all of these people that have been close to the situation. They all come out and they all have these stories to say, these stories to tell. And a lot of these stories, I'm listening to them and I'm like, how did this not come up in trial? Some things didn't come out because it wasn't within the time frame. The reason why a lot of this stuff was not brought out in this trial, and I'm going to tell you why. When it changed hands, and this is how I see it. I could be wrong. This is just my assumption on it. When Damian Williams had this case and he was coming out, Damian Williams was coming out blazing. He was not playing. But when it changed hands to Maureen Comey, it seemed like Maureen Comey made this based off of the Cassie lawsuit. Like she went after this based off of Cassie's lawsuit. And when you put it in that time frame and you go to show up a pattern, a history of things, there's things that are not going to be brought up. You end up with a case like this one where you have people saying, you dropped the ball on this. Today, I just kept going back in my head like, Damian Williams, the case that Damian Williams said he had is not the case that Maureen Comey had. It's not. It's a whole different case. And it seems like the basis of what this case was supposed to be, she came in and made it what she wanted it to be. And so I question what happened to all of the other evidence that they had, because the government's not going to tell us that they have something and then they don't, because then we're looking for it like we are now. Like, wait a minute. So are you telling us that we were told that all of this stuff was had and we really don't? You had Homeland Security officers that were coming out and speaking out and saying that this is the type of evidence that we had when we walked into this house and we raided this house. This is the stuff that we found. You guys got to remember, they went into this man's home. They searched through it. Now you have Jay Clayton that has taken the reins, and while he's been there in the shadows, he wasn't there on the case. Jay Clayton wasn't in the courtroom not one day. So even though I know there are people that have been telling me like, oh, his name has been on and his name has been here, his name can be there, but he wasn't there in that courtroom. He wasn't there in that moment sitting through the trial. Maureen Comey was the lead prosecutor. They did fire Maureen Comey. And it wasn't the Southern District of New York that actually fired her. That firing came down from Trump. And now it's an investigation, a case going on against her father. And just recently, earlier today, I heard that they are actually, the Department of Justice is calling in people like the Clintons and James Comey, people who were in office or on the flight logs of Jeffrey Epstein, the people who were in office when Jeffrey Epstein got that non-prosecutorial agreement down here in Florida. So it's a lot of stuff. You said some stuff wasn't in or didn't happen in New York State jurisdiction, so he couldn't be charged. Well, the thing about that is Diddy was a resident of Florida and California, and they also never searched his New York homes. He had a home in the Hamptons, a home, an apartment out there in Manhattan as well. We didn't hear about any of those homes being raided, but you know what? That's just like what happened with Epstein. We only heard about Epstein's home in Florida and New York being raided, but they never raided his ranch out in New Mexico, and they never went over there to Little St. James and raided that either. You see what I'm saying? They ignored because they believed RICO was bigger. Here's the thing, and I said this to you guys. They didn't care really about nailing down a case to where it was definitely going to be RICO. They didn't care about that. I'm telling you that. And I don't care how anybody takes this. I'm giving it to you raw and how I saw it. And I believe I said this after this case was over, and I've said it a couple of times, and people are like, well, what do you mean they didn't want Diddy? They didn't really want Diddy. They didn't want him for real. They wanted him for this Cassie case. They wanted to set a precedent with this one. And what makes me say that is because when the government is coming at a person for RICO, in the past, they pull everything, including the kitchen sink and the diapers off the baby. to where that jury is sitting there and there's overwhelming evidence that there's RICO. Well, if you don't find him guilty of this, you're going to find him guilty of this because here's the proof that lines up with that. If you don't find this and this, you're going to find this because there's proof of this. There's going to be different things that they hone in on and harp on. If they wanted the sex trafficking really, they would have had more than 2 escorts come up there to testify to the sex trafficking to back it up. Because there is sex trafficking there that was happening because sex trafficking, you got to move people around in order for them to engage in commercial sex. And so even if, you know, it's the girlfriend and you're moving them around, they're sleeping with the prostitutes. That's sex trafficking. By definition, that's sex trafficking. Not by what we've seen and what we've learned. That's sex trafficking, right? No freak-offs happen where? In New York? You have a point that no freak-offs happened in his New York homes. But this is what I'm saying. If you're coming down on him for RICO, ain't no stone left unturned. I feel like Maureen Comey felt like this. We have built a case on trafficking and the Mann Act. And we're going to get a RICO on trafficking and the Mann Act. And I feel like that's what was focused on in the trial was the trafficking and the Mann Act. Also, they went for bribery and they didn't go for blackmail. When you had Cassie's mom come and testify that she had to pay $20,000 to Diddy. And she took out a home mortgage and wired it to Diddy. And yeah, he wired it back, but she wired it to him. And that's what I'm saying. Like this case that they put together, she figured they're going to find him guilty of trafficking. They're going to find him guilty of the Mann Act. And the Mann Act and the trafficking are 2 predicates. And they're going to find him guilty of those counts for Cassie and Jane. And even if they don't find them guilty for Jane and they find it for Cassie, or they find it for Jane and don't find it for Cassie, either way it goes, we got him. He's going to go down on a trafficking and a Mann Act RICO. That's what it looks like that they banked on. That the jury was going to come back and the jury was going to say, okay, yeah, we found him on these 2 counts. And because you found him on these 2 counts, you've now found him guilty of RICO. And the jury sat back and said, we're not going to give him RICO. We're not going to give him the RICO. So are we going to find him guilty of the trafficking or are we going to find him guilty of the Mann Act? Let's find him guilty of the Mann Act. She gambled the dice and put all her eggs in the basket of trafficking and Mann Act. That's how I see it. People don't have to agree with me, and that's fine. But that's how I saw it as a person that sat there and watched this and listened to this and watched days and days and days of text messages and days and days and days of emails and days of sitting there in silence like this. As the jury sat there like this, watching freak off videos. Freak off video after freak off video, sexting message after sexting message. Oh, I want you. Oh, I want to eat your punana. Oh, I'm envisioning you being with Jules. Or how do you feel about calling this one? And oh, yeah, I'm so hot for you. And oh, I want to freak off forever. And the drugs and the high and the violence and the drugs and the high and the violence. And then more freak off and then more text messages and sexting. And don't forget the intercontinental video. Do you think it's a big mistake for Diddy to want a new trial and risk being found guilty of RICO? Well, here's the thing, Shannon. They can't find him guilty of RICO, at least not on those charges. They're asking for a new trial based on the Mann Act alone. There's also something else. I've been saying that go look up the chapter 117. It's not chapter 117. It's actually the next one. It was like 31 something that I read where they're going for criminal violence, and that the Mann Act, the chapter 117 that they are charging him under, falls underneath that criminal violence, which is mandatory detention. Mandatory remand. So he is to remain in custody because of that. But they're not really talking about that right there. So I don't know. I don't know how Judge Aaron Submarinian is feeling about any of this stuff right now. I don't know if he's annoyed. We just heard that Nicole Westmoreland said that people have been reaching out to Trump from Diddy's camp asking for a pardon. You know, at any point in time, if Trump is going to pardon him, Trump doesn't have to wait for a verdict for him to pardon him. He could just make a phone call and say, you know, I'm giving him a presidential pardon, and that's it. Let him out. You know what I'm saying? So we don't know how that is going to go. I do feel like this was a humiliation ritual as well, because the thing that nobody is talking about is the Diageo aspect of things. I'm not letting that go. Call it a conspiracy theory, call it tinfoil kufi conversations, or whatever it is that you want to call it. But at the end of the day, I believe all of this was sparked because of Diageo. I do. Because it was awful funny how Diageo filed their lawsuit, and he filed his lawsuit against Diageo. They settled with him, buying him out of De Leon Tequila for $200 million. And then months later, here comes Cassie with her lawsuit and her book and all of that stuff. And from what I'm understanding, this is rumor from the rumor mill, Diageo paid for her attorney's fees. We don't know if that's true or not, but that's word on the curb. That's what they said. They said it. I heard it, so I'm repeating it. So it's not actual factual. So allegedly, they paid for her attorney's fees. And then here came the Cassie lawsuit. And then Cassie's lawsuit comes out. Diddy settles it within 24 hours to try to make it go away. And, you know, next thing you know, there's a federal indictment coming now. They saw that lawsuit and decided to go after him. And once they went after him, there were other things that were present and prevalent, and boom. Now we're dealing with escorts out here chopping it up. Now, I have read Clayton Howard's book. I have watched Clayton Howard's interviews, and I must say that it should be called Obsession and Contradictions, in my opinion, because this man wants to be the victim so bad. He wants a payday. The book is a repeat. He repeats himself multiple times, over and over again. He brags on his manhood and how big it is, and how he can make her squirt, and I was in a relationship with her for X amount of years, this, that, and the third. No, I wasn't in love with her, and da-da-da-da-da. But Cassie, she was so beautiful, she was so this, and I would hold her, and we would have sex, and da-da-da. We would make love. I'm sorry. He would say they would make love, and blah, 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 and she was so beautiful, and my penis was so big, and I would make her squirt in 15 to 20 strokes. Like, it was over and over and over again, the same thing. And this man was just in love with her. Now he's running around here talking about he never orgasmed with her. Well, guess what? In his book, he said he never had an orgasm with her, and he had to go sleep with his girl. No, he had to go sleep with prostitutes after. Then he gets up there on Art of Dialogue and says that he had to go home to the woman that he loved, the woman that did it for him. And he would have to have sex with her in order to have an orgasm, because he never orgasmed with Cassie. Then he's telling Tasha K that he never orgasmed with Cassie, and that he would have to go walk around in the streets of Miami to find somebody to sleep with, because he was walking around with blue balls because he could never orgasm. But then you say that you got her pregnant. Then you say you fill her up full of fun time jizz. So which one is it? It's a bunch of contradictions that have gone on. And you see all of them coming out with their stories. They're on a press run. Right now, it's Clayton Howard, and he done dragged Daniel Phillips into it. And There's other ones. I came across an interview somebody did with one of the other ones that we've never heard from. We never knew about. He only did the one interview and that was it. Then you've got the Punisher who did his interview with DJ Vlad. Haven't seen him anywhere. Rico. Rico did Tasha K and Rico did VladTV. So it's like you got it. This has become a shit show. I just want to blink and get to October 3rd. And the way I feel is if you're going to free him, free him. If you're going to keep him, keep him. But at some point in time, this circus has to come to an end. Because this circus is played out. It's played out. And what I was saying to y'all before I played Nicole Westmoreland's interview with CNN, Alexandra Shapiro was over there on Law and Crime. I don't know if anybody got a chance to catch it, but you know how everybody is sitting out here saying that all of the witnesses lied? Alexandra Shapiro said it. She didn't say all the witnesses lied. They asked her if she felt like some people expanded on the truth, to make it bigger than what it was. And she said it depends on who you're talking about. And the minute that she said that and she was talking, guess whose picture they put up? Mia's. But she did not say everyone got up there and perjured themselves. At the end of the day, I respect that defense team. If I'm ever in trouble, that's who I want defending me, honestly. But I also respect the prosecution, but I also feel like the prosecution dropped the ball. They did not want Diddy, and so therefore Diddy was not had. You thought you were going to get him on the trafficking and the Mann Act alone. No. Those other ones were easily to say, nope, nope, nope. I could see how people said no, but I could also see how someone would say yes. I saw both sides of it. But anyway, we have gone so far beyond Keefe D in this video. I'm going to have to cut this video down. But I must say that it has been wonderful sitting here, sharing time and space with you all. I did not expect this video to get a lot of people in here. I expected my regulars to get up in here because this was not a video that is really like, it's not really like what my channel normally talks about. Like if I throw Diddy in the title, then people might come in here and watch. I don't know. But I'm not about to stress myself out. I came, I saw, I conquered. This was a great video. We talked about a lot. And now it is time for me to say goodbye because I'm going to go rest my head. Love your hair as well. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Anyway, so I will see you guys tomorrow at some point in time. I want whoever's still alive from the OJ defense. Okay. Oh, thank you, Odd. Anyway, thank y'all for tapping in and tuning in. I love and appreciate each of y'all. Thank you so much to the mods, to the snipers, to the bodyguards, the bouncers of the bar. Thank you to everybody who tapped in and tuned in, whether you tuned in for the whole thing, you tuned in for a little bit. The fact that you tuned in, I'm appreciative and I'm grateful. Thank you so much. I love y'all. Love is always love. When y'all rest well. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Make sure y'all say y'all prayers before you go to bed. Peace, y'all.